longer want to bid against themselves. LA's waiting for the Pelicans to make a counteroffer of the proposal of the package that includes young players, first-round picks, and salary cap relief. New Orleans has one big question to answer before the upcoming trade deadline before making any deal, notes Woj.
Is this enough to forego going into the offseason, seeing what the Celtics will offer, seeing what other creative opportunities will come between now and the draft? But there's a lot of support within the Pelicans organization to just let Anthony Davis stay on the roster past Thursday's trade deadline.
Adrian Wojnarowski, Wizards point guard John Wall, already out the rest of the season with an injured heel, needs Achilles surgery that will sideline him for about 1 year. NFL, the Hollywood, Florida Police Department confirms Steelers receiver Antonio Brown was involved in a January domestic dispute in South Florida. No arrests were made. Brown's lawyer called the allegations baseless and false.
Become a new card member, and Discover Card will match all the cash back you've earned, dollar for dollar, at the end of your first year. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. ESPN 690. Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio.
You watch Action Sports Jax on CBS 47 and Fox 30.
Now Action Sports Jax is on your radio.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios.
Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
It feels like baseball weather out there today. Maybe a little golf weather.
Breezy, man. I like it. You know, just not too hot, not too cold. That's perfect weather today.
I'll tell you what. Today, it's February 5th in Rhode Island, where I grew up. Today would be like, it's like that March 18th day, where it's like the first spring-like day of the year, and you can smell it and feel it, and that never leaves you. That's what today feels like for me. Maybe partly because football season's over, but I can still tell you the day we would start baseball in New England. March 10th would be the first day we were allowed to play in the spring for high school and middle school. Yet we would start inside the gym for about 2 weeks because there's snow on the ground. Then we would go to the parking lot because at least that was had been plowed, right? So it's clean. And then if you're lucky, you get on the field, you know, late March, and it's hard as a rock. And the ball, it's like AstroTurf. And so that's kind of like what stays with you. And it's just unbelievable. Today is beautiful.
Well, and I'll tell you what, this kind of weather brings back memories of just being a kid, and obviously in Wisconsin, so it's a little colder right now than it is here. You know, but it has the feel of spring in Wisconsin when the snow's starting to melt and you finally get to ride that bike that you got at, you know, for Christmas time. Because obviously when it's Christmas time, there's snow on the ground, so you can't ride that new bike. So it literally just sits in your garage for about 3, you know, sometimes 4 months, just waiting, collecting dust, and all of a sudden the snow starts to melt a little bit. It gets a little warmer outside, and then you have the access to actually ride the bike. So all those kids in Wisconsin kind of itching at the bit to ride that bike, man. Probably like about a month or so, you guys will be good.
Brent Martineau, Austin Lane, Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690 here on a Tuesday. You just brought up something that reminds me of a great story. I was telling you about my buddy Pat yesterday, right? He made the $50 bet for $3,000 on the Brady pick. Well, they got their daughter is like 4 years old, got her a bike. And about 2 weeks ago, I saw a video on Facebook. What he did was he put the bike, he got like a couple of blocks of wood.
Yeah.
And he put the bike up on the blocks of wood, and she is sitting on her bike in the kitchen pedaling. Almost like it's an exercise bike. But that was her. She's used her bike in the house. Yeah. You know, and yet to use it outside.
Make no mistake about it. When I was in 7th grade, I got a black dyno comp. You know, it had the pegs and everything. It was a powder black. It was, you know, sparkly and everything. My mom got that for me for Christmas, and I went right outside in about, you know, minus 10-degree temperatures and rode that thing around the block a couple times because I felt that I was the coolest kid ever. And then eventually you kind of realize, like, yeah, it's probably not the greatest bike riding conditions, but I can relate to that little girl, so props to her.
Awesome. Well, at least after last week, I'm glad you're a big Christmas guy, so that's good. It's good to know. It's good recovery by you.
Thank you.
And few people know this, but Austin Lane was like, you talk about people play a lot of sports. You played a ton of sports.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you were an AAU basketball guy.
I was.
you played hockey for a bit, right?
Hockey was my sport,
You were telling
actually.
us last week you got an invite to go play hockey internationally?
There was basically what it was is it was in Germany.
Okay.
And from what I remember, seeing on the letter in the brochure, it was $5,000, so that wasn't even a thought.
Yeah.
Because it's expensive, especially hockey being an expensive sport. So that wasn't an option. Grew up playing soccer. Grew up playing baseball. Was a fun sport too until I got to high school. I just wasn't a fan of it anymore for whatever reason. But I grew up playing everything, and I think that's important as a kid is to get your kid involved with whatever he wants to do.
Well, it's a good topic to talk about. It's one that gets brought up a lot. And I won't spend a lot of time on it today, but it's one of those deals about this show is I'd like to, especially when things, I wouldn't say slow down, but get a little different than the rat race of football season, and when you have a little bit of those lulls in the pockets of the sports world, talk more about those bigger issues. And one of the big issues in sports is, should you play more sports? Should you be specialized? And it's been an ongoing debate for 10, 15 years now. And my one big takeaway always is, and this is the only thing I'll say about it right now, is you always hear from the athletes, like the Trouts of the world, the Harpers of the world, whoever it might be, kind of yelling at parents for specialization. My only criticism of that is you are the 1% athlete.
Yeah.
You could have played chess for 10 years of your life and picked up, a football or a basketball or a baseball in 10th grade and probably been very good at it. So you're not talking like you're the rest of us. The 1% athlete, I don't necessarily want their advice on that stuff because they're a different animal. They're not all made like everybody else. But if you're a kid that is just kind of an average kid and you want to put a lot of extra work in and say down here you can play baseball or softball and you can do it year round, well, you got a good chance to get ahead of 50% of the average kids up on the northern side of this country.
Yeah.
And maybe you go play high school ball and college ball at any level. Forget about the pros. Well, there's that side of the argument, too. So we'll talk about deeper dive into it. But you just said it. The more you can play, the better. Absolutely.
And like you said, we're going to get into it later. But I'm not going to name your names, but I've seen, families and kids of where I used to train in the offseason for the NFL. They would bring, their 6, 7-year-olds in just to train, and I wouldn't even call it really training. It was just do drills revolved around football. And these are 6 and 7-year-olds. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. It's, and I think a lot of it's the parents trying to live vicariously through the kids. It's my opinion that eventually if you keep doing that, the kid's going to get burnt out.
Yeah.
I'm all for letting your kid kind of find his own way and let him play as many sports as he wants to. But once again, that's a different topic for a different day.
Well, it's funny we're having this conversation. I was just literally talking about it with somebody 45 minutes ago. And there's a little bit of this world about keeping up with the Joneses, because of all the travel stuff and the 7-on-7 camps and the scholarships out there, and everybody tries to speed everyone's life up in the recruiting world, and so now it trickles down to even people that might not get recruited that you have to also try to keep up. So it's fascinating, but one of those topics we'll deep dive into as we go along. But the segue part of this is it's a big recruiting time right now. Big news in Jacksonville yesterday. Mandarin quarterback Carson Beck, Gatorade Football Player of the Year, one of our reality recruits on the TV side on the Friday Night Blitz, decommitting from Alabama, opened up now for Miami and Florida. The Gators are really in the mix. Could be a Georgia Tech guy. I mean, all these different schools now open up. And my fascination with the recruiting trail is Carson Beck around here and even in the recruiting world was a big story in the last couple of days, kind of opening up his recruitment again. He's got nothing to do with tomorrow's National Signing Day. Zero. It's not his year to sign.
Yeah.
So you talk about speeding things up. We have 2 national signings days now, one in December, one in February. And then by the time we get to February, when it comes to football players, they're basically all locked and loaded, and we're already on to the next year. It's a very confusing process to the point where you have to wonder, will we end up with just a December? Will we always have a February to lean back on? And by the way, this February signing day is not big in Athens, Georgia, where Kirby Smart's basically got his class all signed. But it is massive in Tallahassee, where they just dismissed their quarterback. They've got another QB in the transfer portal, and they really don't know what the heck they're doing at that position in a monster year for Willie Taggart. So the recruiting thing is bizarre right now. when we talk football, there will be a lot of kids that will sign tomorrow in various sports, whether it's swimming and softball and baseball and lacrosse. And it's a big day for all those kids and parents that have worked hard to get to the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, I kind of went through that process a little bit. I've shared that story with you before. It's crazy just how far it's come, though, even when I got, I was getting recruited back in 2006. Because back then it wasn't social media.
Yeah.
Social media is such a big part of it now. And, for recruiting purposes, all I had was VHS film that I sent out to teams. I'm from a small town. We didn't have, combines and things like that. So it's amazing just how far it's evolved now. And it's actually been kind of like, I don't want to say it's like draft day, but it almost feels like that, where there's pageantry and there's all these gimmicks and whatnot with these kids signing, and there's Twitter videos of kids announcing where they're going to go. I feel like they should kind of chill out a little bit and just focus on the task at hand. I get it's a big day for them and they're excited, but listen, man. Everything's all peachy when you sign that contract, or when you sign the scholarship. But then once you get into football camp, man, you realize those coaches aren't going to be your best friends forever. You know what I'm saying? They're about to be pretty hard on you.
Well, yeah, got a lot of thoughts on that, and
yeah.
We'll talk about signing day, preview it a little bit coming up. But tomorrow will be a big day, a national signing day for so many kids and families in the area, and not just these high-profile football players that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. We got a big show lined up. I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about Jalen Ramsey today. Deion Sanders had some words for Jalen in the last couple of days, and Jalen Ramsey had some looking back on 2018 with Jaguars.com. So we'll talk about Jalen Ramsey in a little bit. Next, I want to put a bow on Super Bowl 53. Where are these teams going? Mm-hmm. Patriots and Rams, and what's it mean for the rest of the NFL? Next on ESPN 690.
Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
Hey everybody, it's Brent Martineau of Action Sports Jacks here to talk to you about my good friends, the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. They built this new dealership from the ground up, and they did it with you in mind, and it's a beautiful facility. Their focus is getting you into the car you want at an affordable price, and that's where their no-risk, no-pressure approach comes in. If you buy a vehicle from Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville and you're not 100% satisfied with your purchase, you can bring the vehicle back within the first 7 days for your money back. The Hyundai you want, the service you deserve, all with Jenkins' exclusive lifetime warranty. You can drive a Hyundai. Put a Hyundai in your family like we have in our family. And take it from me. My friends at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville will treat you right. Go check out the showroom. Visit them online at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com. The Hyundai you want, the service you deserve, all with the Jenkins exclusive lifetime warranty. Make sure you tell them Brent from Action Sports Jacks sent you.
Peace of mind. It's one of the most important things we can have, and sometimes the most elusive. I'm Eli Anajar from the law offices of Anajar and Levine. If you've been involved in a hit-and-run accident, call the law offices of Anajar and Levine at 904-600-4000.
Office in Jacksonville.
Hey everybody, this is Brent Martineau. Come meet Shaquem Griffin and hear his inspirational story during a community event presented by Brooks Rehabilitation. Saturday, February 9th on the Flex Field at Daly's Place. Shaquem Griffin of the Seattle Seahawks will be in Jacksonville. The former UCF football star made history last year when he became the first one-handed player to be drafted to the NFL. Doors open at 10 a.m. on February 9th. This community event features exhibits and demonstrations, followed by a conversation with Shaquem Griffin. Register now at brookscelebrate.org.
When you get hurt, you feel like everything is put on hold. And
here's Hunter Scantling to talk about his experience with Southeast Orthopedic Specialist.
When it comes to injuries like that, you gotta make sure you get the best advice, the best surgeon. And luckily, I was recommended to go to Southeast Orthopedic Specialist, and the office was awesome, very nice. Everybody there made me feel at home. Everybody's been spot on.
Get your body moving again with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. Find out more at se-ortho.com.
Sports Center updates at the top and bottom of every hour. And the latest breaking news in sports around the clock. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
Now, back to Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau
on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Brent Martineau, Austin Elaine, Justin Kuzart. The Kuz man is back. We are all in studio, and Stuart Weber will probably stop up and join us a little bit later on. Got a conversation with LaDainian Tomlinson from Super Bowl week we did not get to. Held it off intentionally because it really had to do with Leonard Fournette, most of it. And so his thoughts, the Hall of Fame running back, on Leonard Fournette and his future in Jacksonville. I told you, top of the hour, 4 o'clock. Might spend some time, a couple segments on Jalen Ramsey. Deion Sanders had some words about Jalen in terms of his conversation after the GQ article. Jalen talked to Jaguars.com today, or didn't talk to him today, but it was released today, and his thoughts on the 2018 year. I just have some thoughts on Jalen, where he's going. Will he be different in 2019, and just how good of a player he is. Austin Lane will comment on those things, too. So a lot of Jags talk coming up throughout the show. I want to put a bow on Super Bowl 53. Patriots held their parade. You know what? Most teams take a while to get their parade underway and going because of the logistics. The Patriots and New England already have this mapped out so dang well that they don't even need it. 36 hours after they win a Super Bowl, bam, have the parades, get it done with.
Absolutely. and I got to say, I'm not sure if you watched any of the parade today. Who do you think's got more swag, Shad Khan or Robert Kraft? Because I saw Robert Kraft rocking his MJs, but he's also donning a new Meek Mill chain that said Champions on it. So, I mean, you know, Khan's got the mustache. It's kind of a staple here in the city of Jacksonville. But, bruh, Robert Kraft, man.
I saw Kraft, I forget which, on one of the parties, I think it was, before the Super Bowl. He was out at the night, and he was doing some dance moves on a stage, too. Yeah. I mean, Robert Kraft's up there now. He's in his 70s. But the whole Meek Mill thing is interesting with Robert Kraft, right? I mean, he's kind of opened the doors of this super unique relationship of NFL owner and musicians.
Of course. I mean, you mentioned he was dancing. Yeah, he was dancing with Cardi B. So
that's where it was. Okay, that's what I saw. I couldn't remember exactly what I saw. It was a clip, though. Guy's got some moves.
He does.
All right, so they have the parade. Someday that parade in Jacksonville is going to be unbelievable, by the way, when that ever happens. Where do the Patriots go from here? Forget about the Tom Brady stuff I talked about yesterday. You know, my thoughts still, I don't know if he's going to be back, but we got to assume that he's coming back. He said he was going to be back. We think Gronk. Are we going to all go with the assumption that Gronk's gone? So does the Patriots run continue? Do you see the Dolphins, the Jets, the Bills maybe making a little bit of a run to close the gap or get over the hump with the Patriots? And as I set that up, one thing about the Pats, they've had injuries and they've had things that have happened and they've been able to overcome because of the brilliance of Brady and Belichick. But it really was the last time they had a major injury was when Brady missed that entire season. You know, I mean, the last time they had one that changed the season for them. Like the Jags just had an amount of injuries that changed their season. They had 16 different offensive linemen. They lost their number one wide receiver. Their star running back was out for most of the year. I mean, their tight end was out for most of the year. I mean, that was a lot of injuries. Yep. And what I'm saying is, the Patriots have had to deal with an Edelman suspension or Gronkowski being hurt. But it doesn't seem like these injuries have altered their season very much. And I don't know how much of that is Brady as a disguise or they've just been fortunate in that regard. And are they ever going to get bad luck, I guess, is the moral of my story.
I mean, I think a testament to that with the Patriots is their depth, because you saw Patrick Chung. I think he went out in the first half, and then he was out for the rest of the game. And somebody came in, filled the spot, and they missed a beat. We saw it a couple years ago with their offensive line where they had 9 different offensive line rotations going in just because of all the injuries and players not playing up to their abilities. So when you're talking about the Patriots, I mean, yes, they're not a lot of household names, but they have a lot of depth. Now, answering your question, well, where do the Patriots go from here? Well, let's go ahead and break down the division quick. We got the Jets. Sam Darnold, young quarterback, showed some glimpses the first game of the season, but then kind of fell off a little bit. They have promise in a wide receiver, Robbie Anderson, who I think has the potential to be one of the best wide receivers in the league. Their defense kind of underachieved this past season for having spent so many draft picks, so much time and money on them. Their defense kind of underachieved a little bit as well. So as far as the Jets next year, no, I don't see them going to the playoffs. The Bills, Josh Allen shows promise as well. But you got to remember, he made a lot of plays with his legs. Yep. And if he's going to keep on doing that, there's no way he's going to be able to last the whole season. So he's going to have to rely on his arm a little bit going forward. The Bills' defense is solid as usual. Wide receivers lacking a little bit. Shady McCoy is kind of, towards the swan song of his career, so we don't know what's going to happen with the Bills. So I don't see the Bills going to the playoffs next year either. And that leaves who else?
The Dolphins.
Is Tannehill going to be a Miami Dolphin next year or not?
No, reports are out that he's not.
Yeah.
Right.
So
that happened on Friday. So
they're in need of a quarterback.
But what if they go get Flacco or Foles and then draft the young guy? They're going to be in the same situation the Jags are in, where they could go get one of those guys and draft. And do they have some of the pieces together down there, or is this kind of a complete remake? I don't want to say rebuild, because I think they have some parts, but maybe a remake of the Miami Dolphins under Flores.
Let me ask you this, though. So, obviously, we've kind of established that Foles has the choice of where he's going to go. You know, I mean, eventually he's got the final say. Probably the same thing with Flacco. If you're Foles or Flacco, do you want to go to the Jaguars or do you want to go play for the Dolphins?
It's a really good question. I would say the Jags.
Obviously, because they have the defense, and, Kenyon Drake is spotty. He can be good sometimes in the running game, but he's not consistent. And same thing with Fournette. Don't get me wrong. Fournette kind of had a rough year last year, too. But
the offensive weapons for both guys are minimal.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the intrigue has to lay with the Jacksonville Jaguars with their stout defense. So who knows who's going to get a quarterback? I mean, I'm sure they're not going to get the first dibs unless they want to pay a lot more money for that. But so if we're talking division, I mean, I think the Patriots got it wrapped up, no problem.
Yeah. Okay. So now let's talk about the
they're fine.
Yeah. So they look like they're going to own this. But again, I mean, Brady's got to be back to make that happen. And I still think what's interesting is how connected does Josh McDaniels stay for these next few years? Does he get another job now? Next year, it looks like he'll be there. And then also Scarnecchia. Scarnecchia is that forgotten guy, but he makes that offensive line really work. It'll be, and they still have a lot of money spent on their football team. So the Patriots are interesting. It's going to stop soon. And I don't know. I made an outlandish statement about Brady yesterday. I will say this. I'm not afraid to say this part. I truly believe this, and we're all guessing, but I truly believe that the dynasty is over this year. I think this was their exclamation point. Even with Brady, with anything you want, I don't think they win another Super Bowl in the near future.
And to get back to your point, I disagree just for the fact that they kind of found a running game now. They got Sony Michel coming in, putting up 100 yards a game. James White still dependable out of the backfield, catching balls. And then you got Rex Burkhead, who just out of nowhere has 3 touchdowns and ruins your whole fantasy football season. So it's just, you really, I mean, as far as the run game's concerned, they're definitely in place for a long time. Something to watch, though, with the Patriots this up-and-coming, this offseason is the draft, obviously, because if, say, Gronk retires, they're going to need a tight end for sure. But also, is this the year that they take a predecessor for Tom Brady?
Yeah.
A guy that's kind of on the radar that I've been seeing a lot of draft talk is Jones from Duke.
Daniel
Jones.
Because he'll be available, it looks like, maybe, at least right now. He's going to slide up even further, but where they're picking.
Exactly.
And the Patriots have been good about this. Patriots drafted Garoppolo. They drafted what's the kid name from Arkansas? Can really throw it, but he's a problem. I just lost. It begins with an M. I feel like we're playing a game right now.
Yep, hang on. Yeah, my bad.
No, it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't. But anyway, they've tried to invest in the position behind Tom Brady. They have Hoyer there right now, but you would think they will draft the QB again.
Ryan Mallett.
Thank you. Yeah. I had all the parts except for the entire name. Yeah. But so they've tried. I mean, they've been prepared every time they think, wait a minute, and then he keeps pushing them off. I think you're right. I think they will draft a quarterback somewhere in the draft to say, okay, let's just be sure. We got to start looking ahead at this. We can't go by, hey, let's hope that he plays until he's 45 years old.
Exactly.
So that will be a part of it. As for the Rams.
Obviously, we discussed it before with the Rams. It's not going to be the same team this next season just because they have so many guys that they still need to pay. I mean, they have to pay Sue. Sue signed a 1-year deal. So are they going to bring Sue back? I think they still got to pay Talib, Marcus Peters. They already gave Gurley that extension. They already paid him a lot of money. And
now, what's the relationship with Gurley? It's an interesting
don't know what's
one.
Going on.
You mentioned too. They did their post pressers in L.A. And he kind of walked by the media, didn't do anything with the media. Is he upset? I'm telling you, there's something with this Gurley stuff.
Yeah,
we're gonna find out in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and you kind of made the point where it's just an injury, but the way everything's going, you think if you're Todd Gurley and the media comes in, you're gonna say, yeah, I was kind of banged up a little bit. I wasn't 100%. That was why my carries were limited a little bit. I mean, it works hand in hand. The coach can come out and say Gurley was banged up because, listen, the season's over. So we got nothing else to play for. So no one's going to be game planning you anymore. So why wouldn't you come out and say exactly what's going on with Gurley if he is hurt? which leads me to believe maybe there's something else going on in that locker room.
Here's some of the cap dollars. They got some big money tied up. Aaron Donald, $17 million. Andrew Whitworth, $15 million. Brandon Cooks, $15 million. Michael Brockers, $10 million. Gurley's $9 million. Marcus Peters is $9 million. I wonder if they have any dead cap money on Peters. They'll release him. They don't have any dead money. I think they'll clear away some room there. Barron's a $9 million guy. Goff's an $9 million guy. They've got a lot of money tied up in the top half of their roster. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle that in this offseason.
Especially
they'll have some tough decisions to make.
Especially because Goff will be having a contract coming up here pretty soon, the next couple of years, that they're going to have to pay him.
They'll have, I think, let's see, we're going on year 4 right now for Goff. Yeah. So then they'll have the idea of whether to pick up. They'll pick up the option on him. Yeah. So that will be clear cut. But yeah, they'll have some tough decisions to make. And in that division where Seattle looks like they found itself a little bit, and you still like Russell Wilson out of everybody else. San Francisco, if Garoppolo is healthy, they've looked like they've built a nice infrastructure in San Francisco, and I still think it's an X factor how good Garoppolo is. Yeah. I understand we have a small sample, and he's been great in that sample, but it's not a lock that he's going to be unbelievable, plus coming off injury. But San Francisco really impresses you. They would scare the heck out of me if I'm anybody in that West.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're looking great until, Garoppolo went down with kind of like a freak injury and everything. They actually still competed. I mean, they won a lot of games.
They played hard.
They played hard for sure. That defense was humming. And, it was crazy with their run game. I mean, they had a couple guys go down, but it seemed like whoever they plugged and played in there was having success. And then when we talk about the wide receivers, they got speed and everything. So, and hey, a tight end. We talk about tight ends all the time. They have one of the best in the NFL, it showed this year, George Kittle. So I'd be watching out for the San Francisco 49ers.
Jags have to find a Kittle.
We need a Kittle. Did you see the latest mock draft today? One of them, some person had us taking the guy from Iowa.
Fant?
Yeah. From
At number 7? At number 7?
Aggressive.
That's aggressive. Trade back and get Fant, I could see. I mean, so that would surprise me. But I will wrap up with this. The Rams missed a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
They held Tom Brady to 13 points. They play in a division now where I don't think this is a crazy statement. Seattle, the Rams, and San Francisco, would you be shocked if any one of those teams are the NFC champ next year? So they play in a division where you might have you could argue, the 3 best teams in the NFC.
I would be shocked if San Fran, just because we don't know about Jimmy Garoppolo yet. He's still come back from that injury.
But would you be stunned if they were the best team in the NFC next year?
Probably not. I mean,
Garoppolo's hardly lost the game in his career.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Saints are going to be up there, obviously. But when you look at the NFC picture, I mean, you can't pick Green Bay anymore.
Saints, maybe the Eagles.
Eagles, maybe.
Right?
Yeah. Dallas showed some promise with Amari Cooper now. But
my point is that division might be the best division in football. Arizona's terrible.
Yeah.
And we'll see how they rebound. But they might be the best division in football.
Yeah.
So, but they missed an opportunity.
Without a doubt.
They held Tom Brady to 13 points, and they couldn't win the game. And now they have some tough decisions to make as well. All right, we're going to do it just for Coos. The Anthony Davis stuff. I'm confused. Where is this thing? I mean, have the Jacksonville Giants offered a deal for Anthony Davis?
Let's just
probably can't offer enough.
And he can talk about it, man, because I'm confused as well. This is ridiculous.
I'll go a little NBA talk when we come back on ESPN 690.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and Antonio Brown hasn't helped his demand to be traded very much. A new report out today detailing domestic disturbance calls in Hollywood, Florida back in January, where cops had to be called out to Brown's home. This could actually make teams shy away from a trade offer, but ESPN's Teddy Bruschi says if he was on the Steelers, he'd be tired of it too.
When you are preaching to me over and over, Mike Tomlin, in the team meetings about doing the right thing, about making the right decisions, and you've made concessions for him, whatever it was, I'm just tired.
Brown's been one of the NFL's most productive players in recent memory, a league record 6 consecutive 100-catch seasons right now. And Mandarin High star quarterback Carson Beck won a state championship this year for his team while chucking 39 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, but the same will never be said for his time at Alabama. That's because Beck is decommitted from the program. No word yet on where he now plans to go, but he will be a high school senior when he takes the field this upcoming season on Greenland Road. Go Mustangs. Stream us live anytime, 24/7 on your computer or phone. Just go to ESPN690.com and hit the Listen Live button.
Hi, Hi, everyone. This is Allie McNeil from the Best Bet Poker Rooms in Jacksonville and Orange Park. WPT Deep Stacks returns to Jacksonville March 1st. The series features 12 total events with the main event guaranteeing over $300,000. Satellite into the $1,500 main event for as little as $85. Pick up all the bragging rights and cash. Plus, make your claim to fame in this year's WPT Deep Stack Series. Satellites run now through March 9th. For all tournament information, visit them on the web at bestbetjacks.com.
Want to put more presidents back in your pocket? Then get to the President's Day sale going on now at Arlington Toyota. Arlington Toyota has over 1,000 vehicles on the lot every day, and every single one of them is discounted with big-time President's Day savings. During the President's Day sale at Arlington, you can buy a 2019 Camry LE from just $19,888. That's a pre-owned 2019 Camry LE from just $19,888. Have you seen the 2019 CHR? Well, do more than see it, own it. Because right now, during the President's Day sale at Arlington Toyota, you can buy a 2019 Toyota CHR from $16,988. That's a pre-owned 2019 Toyota CHR from just $16,988. Arlington is all about putting you behind the wheel, and that includes their new free iPreCheck service, powered by TransUnion. The easy way to check your credit without affecting your credit score. No Social Security number required. It's the President's Day sale at Arlington Toyota, but it won't last long, so hurry. Shop today in person at 10939 Atlantic Boulevard or online anytime at arlingtontoyota.com. From the NBA to the NFL, we've got you covered. The worldwide leader in sports. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
You watch Action Sports Jacks on CBS 47 and Fox 30.
Now Action Sports Jacks is on your radio.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios.
Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
That was a fantastic whiteboard moment.
Makes you wonder, right?
It really does. Made me think a lot. Tell everybody about it.
Well, before I tell everybody about it, if you guys are watching at home on Facebook, Twitter, one of our million apps that we're using now, I want to tell everybody that there's no lifeguard on duty right now, okay? And it gets pretty deep with these messages, so watch at your own risk, all right? So the message today is, if you punch yourself in the face and it hurts, does that mean that you're weak or strong?
And I think that would mean I'm weak if I can't take a punch.
But you might be strong, man. It might be a hard punch.
Yeah, I think if you punch yourself, that means you can't punch yourself as hard as you probably can punch somebody else.
Well, obviously. But you can still punch yourself pretty hard.
I think it's more important to be able to take the punch than deliver the punch.
Kuz, any thoughts?
I'm just wondering why we're punching ourselves.
It's just a question, Kuz.
Oh,
it doesn't have to be all. You don't have to analyze everything I say.
With all due respect, Kuz, in the first 3 weeks, we've almost offered that as a solution for you a couple of times.
It would have been easier.
Nicely done.
I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
I'm not, but anyways.
Anyway, I love it. By the way, if you're not checking us out, the whiteboard magic continues on Periscope off my Twitter handle at Brent A.S. Jacks, also on YouTube, Action Sports Jacks channel, and on Facebook, ESPN 690. I've got one more thing for you. Yesterday, I think I told you, I didn't say this on air, but so for the last week, my eyelid I've had like a spasm.
Yeah.
At times in my eyelid. And I was like, well, what is that all? Like, it's weird. It's it kind of like will pulsate a little bit for the last 10 days. It really happened a lot during the Super Bowl week. And so I'm like, oh, boy, who knows what.
That's not good, man.
It doesn't sound like it's good, right?
No.
You never know. It's actually doing it right now, right this moment.
I can't see. Yeah, you can't see.
You can't do it. I just feel it. It doesn't it's not too noticeable.
Yeah.
And so, what else do? You Google it.
Oh,
and I'm always afraid
that's a big mistake.
You're afraid to Google. But anyway, I was actually pleasantly surprised. So I'm going to share some information and help you out with some knowledge. If you ever had, like, your bottom of your eyelid spaz out a little bit, this is what it says. It does not affect your vision, which it really hasn't. Eyelid twitches are common, often caused by stress and being tired.
You stressed, man?
I'm not stressed. I don't get stressed.
Am I stressing you out a little bit?
Actually, the first week of this radio show, I was probably stressed.
Were you?
There's a lot going on.
You hit it very well.
And I don't ever say I'm tired. Yeah. So I'm not. I just think you should never admit you're tired.
No, true.
Most eyelid twitches are minor, go away without treatment. So I'm going to bank on that for now. You can often get rid of eyelid twitching by getting enough sleep. I did sleep in a little bit more this morning. Not related, just
Treat
I did.
yourself. There you go.
Reducing stress. Again, don't really feel like I have it. And this is the big one.
Uh-oh. Coffee.
Limiting your caffeine.
You're screwed, man.
Why does everything come back to coffee?
Oh, you're screwed.
And caffeine.
You're screwed.
Yeah,
I mean, you're averaging like, what, 5, 6 a day?
Yeah, this was number 3, and I got another one in the car in my little jug, so I'm going to go get it. So I really am not subscribing to the limited caffeine part.
So what's going to happen here? You're just going to roll with it?
I'm just going to eyelid twitch away.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. And if we have to do the show from the hospital, we'll do the show from the hospital.
Yeah,
man.
I mean, so I thought that was interesting, but you are right about one. I what's a good way? Self-diagnosed my appendix one year.
Oh.
I was down at Daytona, actually. It would have been, probably 4 or 5 years ago, this upcoming week or in the next week or so.
Yeah.
And, oh, my gosh, I had a stomach ache so bad, right?
Okay.
And I didn't do anything, but not like to the point where your appendix broke. Apparently, that's like just
Bad
so
news.
painful and bad.
Yeah, yep.
But anyway, I was like, man, why do I hurt so much? That night, I was talking to my dad, and I was like, yeah, I got like stomach ache bad. He's like, do you have a fever too? And I was like, you know what? I was a little hot.
Yeah.
And he said, well, I think it could be your appendix. That's what happened to me years ago when I got my appendix out. So I Googled that up.
Sure enough.
I was in the emergency room that night, appendix surgery.
See,
Google is a good thing. You just got to know when to filter it, man.
I can't co-sign on that, Brent, because I remember I used to get like really bad like night sweats basically, and I'd wake up in the morning just like soaking wet, and it was the ended up result was just from eating a big meal before I go to bed, because you're not supposed to do that. I didn't know. I was just trying to eat a big meal because I was trying to maintain my weight and everything. But so obviously I go online. Hey, I have night sweats. Oh, well, you got about 3 weeks to live, because you have something internally wrong with you, cancer or something like that. So, yeah, I definitely freaked myself out a little bit. So it's not always the best idea to self-diagnose. But if it's something serious, kind of like an eye twitch, I guess you're okay.
Yeah. Well, speaking
Lay
of
off those caffeine, kids.
Speaking of twitching right now,
yeah,
we teased that we were going to talk NBA, and Kuz is like, "All right, are we going to get to it or what? I don't care about your appendix, your night sweats, or your eye twitching.
Just waiting for his fix."
I thought you were about to say we're on Twitch. I really thought that was where you were going with that.
Hey, very good call. We were on Twitch, and congratulations, Kuz. You got us on all these podcasts now.
Officially on Spotify.
And iTunes is good, too.
Yeah, iTunes, Google Play, TuneIn. I mean, really everywhere.
We really are. I'm going to get a graphic made up of all the things because I can't remember them all. But we are on a lot of different platforms.
Can we do
anything
anything else at all? I mean, literally, we've done it all now, right?
Yeah. What wouldn't we be on? Do you know? Is there anything that we're seriously not? I mean, we can say it.
There is one, the iHeartRadio app. They want 2 weeks of consistent content, so we're working on that.
For the podcast?
Yes, podcast.
Don't we have 2 weeks of consistent content?
Well, not on the pod. You got to be on with the other guys first.
Oh, okay.
But aren't we on the iHeartRadio app?
You can hear the station, yes. So it's like if you can tune in at the specific times, yes, you can hear us. But podcast-wise, we're not there yet.
It's amazing how our world is like crosses over, though, right? Because like iHeartRadio is like a competitor.
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, but you get on the app, it's one of those things. So really, that's about it. That's all we're not on. Like, should we be on any other device?
There's other ones
platform?
like Player FM, like and it's not saying there's smaller podcasting apps, but there are some other apps that I'm working on. But it was like I'm going to get the A-list podcast places first.
Yeah, don't even mess around. Dude, we're on enough stuff. Don't stop doing that.
List.
We're on A-list stuff only.
We're A-squatters over here. A-squatters.
And lastly, does anybody even watch us on Twitch?
We have one follower at the moment.
Do we?
Some dude who's got bored playing video games and wanted something new in his life.
That's the problem. Is I had us categorized under Fortnite, so people that were looking for Fortnite would see us, which obviously wasn't right.
So mainly you just piss a lot of people off by doing that.
So I switched us to sports talk and like talk radio. So we should be in the spot that we need to be.
No, it's all good. Just put us back to Fortnite, and I'll get a little console in here, and I'll be playing the whole time when we're doing the show, so that they can see a screen me playing, and then we can talk sports at the same time.
It's a genius. Yeah, it's a good idea. So, well, good job. Kuz has done a good job. So let's talk a little NBA. What the heck's going on with the Anthony Davis stuff?
Oh, man. So Lakers gave another offer, which was a little bit more than the first offer. The first offer was honestly comical if you look at what the Pelicans want. I believe
me a favor. Take us back to why is that comical? It was Kuzma, it was Ball, it was it Ingram or not Ingram?
Yeah. Not Ingram. I think Rondo was the first time.
Rondo, you're right. And so what? Just again, you pay attention. Driving Dish podcast, by the way, check it out for Kuz. You are in that world. What were people saying about that? Why was that so comical? What were they missing in that deal with the Pelicans?
Well, you look at the Pelicans. The Pelicans are the ones that hold the whole key to this, right? So the Lakers need to. If you're a Lakers fan, you know this, but it needs to happen in the next 2 days. The trade deadline's on the 7th. You need this trade to go down now because if it goes into the summer, the Celtics can get involved.
And they have better assets.
And they can offer Tatum. They can offer probably a better package of players. And so that's why it's important for the Lakers to get this done now. But the Lakers, with that first offer, seem to be playing, well, he's going to come to us anyway, ball.
Yeah, because, well, they were thinking the way Anthony Davis wants, not necessarily what the Pelicans want.
Well, and with Boston, too, doesn't Boston have 4 first-round draft picks coming up in this NBA draft or in the next couple?
The Boston always has a ton. It's hard to keep track of half the time because Danny Ainge always has them.
Too. No, their draft equity is huge. Yeah. Plus, they have Tatum. Plus, they have all these assets and better assets than the Lakers. I mean, that's a deal. That's for sure, especially with the draft picks. But so now, what's the latest deal? Did they throw Ingram in?
Yeah, they offered Ingram. They offered Ball. They offered Kuzma. They offered a bunch of, I think it was
Rondo.
2 first rounds.
It was, so what I saw, it was Ball, Kuzma, Ingram, Rondo, Lance Stevenson, Beasley, a first-round pick, and then they would take on a player from the Pelicans.
Well, I hope so. You got to fill your roster.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So is Luke Walton going to come back and play, or is Magic Johnson going to
get Kobe back in? Kobe's coming back.
Yeah.
All right. When's the stop line for Anthony Davis? I understand he's a sensational player, but, I mean, when do you say, all right, when do we say, Austin Lane, pump your brakes, stay in your lane?
For me, that offer you sent, half those players do nothing for New Orleans. Rondo, what does that do? You don't want Rondo. You want young players,
Rondo
or you
was there
want picks.
Too. I mean, he was already in New Orleans before.
And so you want young players and you want picks. And I think the Pelicans even said, we aren't even going to talk to you unless it's like 2 first-rounders and 2 second-rounders. Like, you got to make an historic offer for Anthony Davis if you want him.
All right, Kuzma, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but so if they were to kind of go the draft pick routes and, you give them 4 draft picks or whatever, 4 first-round draft picks, the Lakers do that, well, then assuming that the Lakers do well, they'd be picking deeper in the draft. And hasn't history kind of told us that if you have like a late first-round draft pick, they're probably not going to amount to that much?
There's examples. I mean, like you look at Donovan Mitchell, right? Like he was an 8th-round pick, which you can get a little bit later.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's players.
Well, not 8th round.
No,
he was the 8th overall pick.
8th overall. I'm sorry, 8th overall. Yes,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
but you're talking 25th pick.
Yeah,
you're
talking.
Saying,
assuming the Lakers do well, I mean, they're going to get the Lakers draft picks. Well, they're going to be late in the draft.
Well, the Lakers right now are not even in the top 8 in the West. So
but yeah, I mean, true. But eventually, assuming Davis goes there, LeBron comes back, they're probably going to do pretty well.
They could. Yeah, that's a good point. They could roll off some games. So let's stay on it for a minute because I want to see what do you think happens what's the end game here in the next couple of days for Anthony Davis and the Pelicans. Hang on to your thoughts. We'll have more coming up on ESPN 690 next.
It's Golick and Wingo.
Hall of Famer Tony Dungy.
Rooney Rule in place. A lot of people say it's not working. What's going on with this, and what could be the remedy for this?
Ron Rivera, minority defensive coach, has been to a Super Bowl. Mike Tomlin, minority defensive coach, has won a Super Bowl. Anthony Lynn, minority running back coach. So that just kind of echoes my point. It doesn't have to be quarterback coach.
Golick and Wingo, weekday mornings at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
It only takes a minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. And you can do it at doihaveprediabetes.org. But you're probably not going to. Nope. I'm sure you've got a perfectly good excuse. Kids, work. I get it. You're busy. So what better time than now? Let's begin. Raise one finger if you're a man. Ladies, none yet. Oh, count in your head if you're driving. Now, 3 more fingers for everyone over 60, 2 over 50, 1 over 40, 1 more if you're not physically active, another finger if anyone in your family has type 2 diabetes, another if you've got high blood pressure. If you're overweight, raise another finger, 2 if you're very overweight, and 3 if you're really overweight. You've just taken the world's first audio prediabetes test. And if you're holding up 5 or more fingers, visit doihaveprediabetes.org or talk to your doctor. There's no excuse because prediabetes can be reversed.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its pre-diabetes awareness partners.
From Daytona Beach to Brunswick, now ESPN can be heard loud and clear everywhere on one of the most powerful AM radio stations in Florida. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
This is Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Welcome back here on ESPN 690. Brent Martineau, Austin Lane, Justin Kuzart, the Kuz man, talking some NBA and this Anthony Davis stuff. Quick note about the Players' Championship. Matt Kuchar, Adam Scott, Jason Day have all committed, all former winners of the Players' Championship. By the way, that's just a little over a month away now.
As we establish, is Ricky Fowler going to be there?
Oh, yeah, he'll be there.
Okay, good.
That's all you care about.
That's all I had to hear.
Did you go back and look up BDR?
Oh, I forgot about that. I got to do that.
You got to do that.
I'm making
homework
assignment
right now. Homework assignment.
All right.
And you can't just look up what that means. You have to also look up the comment that Fowler made in response to it. It was fantastic.
Okay.
So check that out from over the weekend. TPC Scottsdale, where Fowler got another win. Of course, former Players' Champ. He'll be here too. Be the best field in golf, as it always is. Brent Martineau, Austin Lane, Justin Kuzar. Let's stay on the NBA a little bit. Anthony Davis, I want to know, where does he end up? What's the end game? A couple days away from the NBA trade deadline. It will dominate the discussion. I feel like the Anthony Davis stuff is the only thing that's even crept into the football spotlight in the last 10 days. But to me, it's all been a little bit of minutia because there's no exact defined thing other than he wants to be traded. He's going to be traded. But does that happen now? Does it happen in the summer? What happens, Kuz?
I am willing to put my money on nothing.
Really?
He will not be gone in the next few days. I think they're going to take it to the summer, and they're going to let a bunch of teams, when the demand's there, they're going to try to outdo each other. Right now, all they're saying is, Lakers, keep doing better than your last offer. And that's all they're working with right now. If they go into the summer, Boston gets involved, maybe the Knicks land somebody and they get involved, it'll happen.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned the Knicks, too, because the Knicks offered Kristaps Porzingis and some other, I think some draft picks or whatever for him, and it was turned down. The Knicks ended up going to the Mavericks then for that trade. So the Knicks are obviously interested. I mean, I think everyone's interested. The Bucks, well, I don't think the Bucks are really interested, but Davis said he's interested in going to the Bucks as well, which I should probably say right now, if you're a Bucks fan, I don't want to stay in your lane right now, Brent, but Bucks fans, pump your brakes a little bit because, A, you have the best record in the whole NBA right now. You're 33-13. You have a guy in Eric Bledsoe who's just starting to come around as a point guard. You got an all-star in Chris Middleton. Malcolm Brogdon's he's a young up-and-coming talent. Why would you trade those guys away for Anthony Davis, who we're not sure we're going to get with him and obviously the Greek Freak. I mean, I'm sure they can coincide and play together, but Kuz, do you see Giannis and Anthony Davis playing together?
It's a scary thought, and that's what I think would intrigue everybody.
Yeah. I mean, longest, tallest team of all time in the NBA.
It's got to be close. I mean, the Sixers have a huge team as well with Embiid and Simmons running point. So you have tall teams like that. It just, you wonder how Anthony Davis and him would play together. But, my thinking with that is Anthony Davis is like a once-in-a-generation type talent where if you can make the move, you got to make the move. But you kind of like where the Bucks are right now. Like you said, They have the best record. So I don't think they really want to. But he mentioned them as ones that he would sign long-term with. And that's where, the Knicks came in, the Clippers came in, all that stuff. So
how bad for the NBA would it be if he went to the Bucks? I'm sure the commissioner would come out and just, delete that trade or whatever like that, veto it. Not going to Milwaukee.
Put them on the map.
Yeah.
If Greek Freak can't.
The other part of this is, and this is another storyline that's starting to come out, is Lonzo Ball's dad started talking again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of my... go ahead. You can get into it.
We'll get into it later then. Hang on to that.
Yeah, that's part of my stay in your lane.
I want to stay... We'll stay in our lane right now and stay on the Anthony Davis thing because... so you think he stays put. And that makes sense, by the way. If there's more demand, your supply of ammunition is going to be better in the summer. But what does that do to Davis? Do you think he shuts it down? Will he not play?
There was questions about that. They were asking, I think it was post-game last night or 2 nights ago, they were asking about that, because he just got cleared to practice because of his finger sprain that he had. But they hadn't really gone past, he's cleared to practice. And when it was asked, is he going to play, they were kind of avoiding answering that question. So, you wonder if you just shut him down. Because if he gets hurt, that could be a problem.
Do the NBA players, I'm talking to a guy who played in the NFL, and Kuz, I want your thoughts too, and I know you didn't play in the NFL.
I had a dream I did once.
But hey, don't worry, buddy. We're on the same page here. I didn't either. Do the NFL players have too much? Do the NBA players have too much power? Look at the guys that have made. They're changing the league. Like in recent years. Whether it's LeBron a couple of different times, whether it is now Anthony Davis, whether it was Kevin Durant. Now it looks like Kyrie Irving could be in that play. Durant could be back in that play if he goes to the Knicks or somewhere else. Do they almost have too much power in the NBA?
Well, it's a result of the salary cap. It's the only sport where you can literally be a free agent, or you can even be on a team, and you can literally say, I want to go play here. If you're a star player in the NFL, you can say, well, I want to go play for the Patriots. I want to go play for the Rams. Well, that sounds gravy and everything, but guess what? Like, there's a salary cap in play. If you're one of the best players in the NFL, they probably can't afford you. So that's why the NBA is different in the fact that you can have these star players literally pick and choose where they want to go. And then not only them, but then you can also recruit other star players to come and play for you. And we're talking the top talents in the league. And I think that's a major difference.
To be fair, they're not supposed to do that, but they do that.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens, though.
So what about you, Kuz? You Drive and Dish podcast. Do you talk about this sometimes? Do they have too much sway? Yeah, they might not supposed to do it. We've now seen like 6 examples of it in the last decade. So they are doing it.
It's never come up, and we think that they have too much power. But there's always the talk, like, is it ruining the NBA? Like, are these super teams making the NBA a problem? And
what do you think?
I guess you could say they are in a way, but I still, there's so many storylines, to me at least, as somebody who's a fan, so maybe not just the casual watcher, but like there's so many storylines other than who's going to win this year. There's so much going on every single time with every team that like the Nets right now. That's an amazing story to be watching with D'Angelo Russell finally coming into himself, making the All-Star game. Like there's always so many more topics, but it always does come back to, this season's great, but the Warriors are just going to win it again.
Well, from a business model standpoint, it's been genius too. Yeah. Because this is how they stay right in the mainstream, in the conversation. It's a daily drama. The NBA, even more than the NFL, feels more like a daily soap opera than any other sport.
Agreed. And everyone's got their opinion about the super teams, how it's killing basketball. Listen, when it was the Lakers and the Celtics, those are 2 super teams. I mean, they were absolutely loaded. Now, granted, it's changed the fact that they can bring in more free agents, more star players like they have. But let's not forget, and I've said it before on the show, the Warriors, they built through the draft. Now, granted, they ended up getting Kevin Garnett. They got Kevin Durant, and then they got Cousins now as well. But their core team that they got was built in the draft. So you can't hate on the Warriors that much. I understand the whole Durant argument. The whole Boogie Cousins thing, to an extent, but he was hurt coming into it, so I don't blame him for going there either. Because you look at what happened with Boogie. He had the knee injury. He comes to a team where doesn't have to perform exactly right away. He can take his time, rehab, and then he has a good season this year, wins an NBA championship, and when next year, guess what? He signs a max deal someplace else. So for Boogie Cousins, it was a genius move on his part.
I agree. I mean, that's the smartest thing to do. Go win a championship on a 1-year contract and then go get your money.
On a team where you don't have to perform night in, night out because you have other stars in the team, so you don't have to put your knee at risk.
And on top of that, he just fits so perfectly. So, like, no one expected them to just gel immediately like they did.
It's February 5th. Are you telling me the NBA championship's already been crowned?
Bro, it was crowned 3 years ago when Kevin Durant went to the Golden State. That championship, this championship coming up, was crowned 3 years ago.
But that's bad. That's bad.
No, yeah. And
do we have Golden State fatigue already? No, if you're already crowned up champs, they don't play until like July, the finals.
Man. That's all I'm going to say. Don't sleep on Milwaukee. And obviously Boston, too.
Rockets pushed them last year, and I mean, we could see that again. It's just like, last year you could debate that the Rockets were there until a Chris Paul injury in Game 6, I think it was.
Yeah, because they ended up going Game 7. Yeah.
Can the Celtics find themselves? They have plenty of time. We're talking months away. Could the Celtics find themselves and be the team that people thought they might be? I think he's a fantastic coach. I really do. And then on top of that, you do have Irving. If Hayward can find his way, and then to go along with a maturing and always getting better Tatum, could they become the team that still could beat Golden State?
I don't know. I think they're still really young. There was a lot of expectation. Like Gordon Hayward's not having the greatest year this year.
Well, my point is they'd have to find himself. He's got 5 months to figure it out.
And he could. I just think they're going to have to go through the gauntlet of the East, although calling it a gauntlet's kind of a joke. But, like, you know, the Sixers are there, and they're going to have to go through one of these guys to get there, and that's going to be rough.
Yeah. All right, last thing on the NBA for right now. Sorry, Kuz, don't get too sad. Anthony Davis, I am going to say Celtics, Lakers, or the field. Which one are you taking? 2019 when the next season starts, not right now. Where is Anthony Davis?
I'm taking Lakers.
So I give you the Lakers, Celtics, or the field. You got Lakers.
Yep.
We've seen this 3 times. This is the 3rd time we've seen it now with Kawhi and then Paul George before that. He's going to the Celtics. Teams don't want to trade with the Lakers right now.
And we'll get into this a little later, but did you hear what his dad said about going to the Celtics? Anthony Davis's dad.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to touch on that later.
But he doesn't have a say in it.
Okay, well, I'll touch on it a little bit right now. I think it was the dumbest thing for Anthony Davis's dad to come out and say he's not going to go to Boston.
Leverage potentially?
Because do you know what the whole argument was about? How they disrespected Isaiah Thomas.
I know it.
And they weren't loyal to him. Hey, it's a business at the end of the day, and what is Isaiah Thomas doing right now? Nothing against the guy, but he went to Cleveland, didn't do anything. Went to the LA Lakers, didn't do anything. So if I'm the management of Boston, you got Kyrie Irving, and you dropped Isaiah Thomas, pretty good decision if you're asking me.
Who had the shorter 15 minutes of fame? Jeremy Lin or Isaiah Thomas? My goodness.
Shots have been fired.
This guy's got a career of fame. Jalen Ramsey talk when we come back on ESPN 690.
Brent Martin on Twitter, by the way.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and the off-the-field issues continue to be a problem for Steelers wide receiver Antonio Brown. According to the police down in Hollywood, Florida, where Brown lives, he was involved in a domestic dispute that had to be stopped by the police back in January. This is actually Brown's second run-in with Florida cops, and ESPN's Myron Metcalf says Steelers owner Art Rooney can't be surprised at this point.
AB been AB since day one, and he ain't going to change. He's wrong if he thinks all of a sudden this guy just read a couple of self-help books, watched a couple of motivational speeches and TED Talks, and all of a sudden he's going to change his tune.
And the crowds have come out in force for the New England Patriots as they celebrate their 6th title today in Beantown. It's got to be a familiar feeling up there as the city just threw the same parade for the Red Sox 4 months ago. And finally, Jacksonville's Mr. Football is calling an audible. Mandarin High QB Carson Beck, originally committed to Alabama for the 2020 season, he's now saying he plans to eventually attend another school instead. Listen live anytime by streaming us on your computer 24/7 at ESPN690.com.
Hey, everybody, this is Brent Martin of Action Sports Jacks, and if you're considering buying a new car, I want you to go talk to my good friends at the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. They have raised the bar for customer service, and you'll be happy you went to Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. Their no-risk, no-pressure approach really sets them apart. Imagine buying a new Hyundai Santa Fe, but then thinking to yourself, maybe we don't need that much room in the family. Well, you could buy that new slick Hyundai Accent instead. And with Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville's no-risk, no-pressure approach, you could bring that Santa Fe back to the dealership in the first 7 days for your money back. No pressure whatsoever. Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville also offers a lifetime warranty that is good anywhere in the United States. The Hyundai you want, the service you deserve, all with Jenkins' exclusive lifetime warranty. Do what my family did. Get a Hyundai and get it from Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. Go check out the showroom and visit them online at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com.
It's time for some straight talk. I'm ready for it. You want the best coverage, right?
Of course. Don't want the QB throwing any deep bombs.
I'm talking about coverage on your smartphone, Wingo.
Oh, I get you now. I want the best nationwide coverage then.
Well, you'll get it with Straight Talk. The same great 4G LTE networks as the big guys for up to 30% less.
Man, you got to grab that deal and run with it.
Take it to the house.
With nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks, get the Straight Talk $45 unlimited plan with 15 gigs of high-speed data. Only at Walmart. Savings may vary. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
Golic, did you know that Gatorade Zero has all the same electrolytes but with zero sugar?
I did know that because I drank some Gatorade Zero after I ran 2 miles at the gym this morning.
2? Please, I ran 3.
Did I mention I also was on a 6 incline?
You didn't, but that's interesting because that's 2 less than I was on.
Were you also running backwards because I was. No. Gatorade Zero, all the electrolytes with zero sugar, so you can get more out of zero.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. ESPN 690. Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio. WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, a Cox Media Group station.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi right now as the clock continues to tick toward Thursday's 3 Eastern NBA trade deadline. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reports Lakers president of basketball operations Magic Johnson wants the Pelicans to start offering counter-proposals to offers on All-NBA center Anthony Davis, threatening to end talks unless New Orleans shows a willingness to engage in a back-and-forth. L.A., though, not fooling anybody by saying that. According to the New York Times, Mark Stein.
The Lakers can say all they want. We're going to move on to other targets. Who is believing that? They're not moving on to other targets. Anthony Davis is the guy LeBron James wants to play next to. He's the guy that makes the most sense there.
Mark Stein on the Stephen A. Smith Show. ESPN NBA insider Bobby Marks discusses the Davis situation when he joins Will after this Sports Center. Wizards point guard John Wall, already out the remainder of this season with a heel injury, needs Achilles surgery that will sideline him for about 1 year. He was hurt when he slipped and fell at his home. The Celtics will be without guard Kyrie Irving tonight against the Cavaliers due to a left hip strain.
With 1-800-Flowers.com, Valentine's is a no-brainer. They have the best bouquets and deals around. The 18-stem Enchanted Rose Medley for $29.99. Or double it to the 36 stems for $20 more. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com, click the radio icon, and enter code WILL.
You watch Action Sports Jax on CBS 47 and Fox 30.
Now Action Sports Jax is on your radio.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios.
Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
Happy Hour Horn. Coos remembered it.
Welcome back, baby.
Yeah. Happy Hour Horn here on the show. Brent Martineau, Austin Lane, Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690. Glad to have you along with us on a Tuesday. Does it now feel like football season's over?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Don't be unfortunate, but don't be one of those. Who cares if it's over? We talk football forever. I love football season. But you know what? I'm not going to be afraid to say this. Block your ears. I'm glad it's over.
Oh, wow. Brent, aggressive. Again, aggressive. Why are you glad it's over?
Because it's like we need a break.
Yeah, I mean, do we really get a break, though? Because we're going to be talking draft talk now and everything, and combine,
like,
so it's combine and then it's draft. So, I mean, it kind of is a whole year-long topic here. And, we have the NBA season now to talk about a little more.
Yeah, I'm going to go watch my kids play ball on the weekends instead of go watch the Jags stink it up for 3 hours.
Yeah,
all right, I don't mind
man.
that. I love watching the Jags stink it up on weekends, too. But I'm also not going to be afraid for these few months to enjoy when they're not playing on Sundays.
Maybe it's just the fact that I'm missing being able to go on FanDuel and DraftKings and do my gambling because now I'm not going to play basketball. I'm not a degenerate, so I'm just waiting until football season comes around again.
By the way, I just made the most sacrilegious comment you can ever make in football.
Yeah,
I mean, it's but I do think people always say people say, oh man, I really miss it. I can't wait till football. No, it's fine. I can wait. Well, I can't wait till it's here. I mean, I'll be glad when it's here. I love every second of it, and we live it, and it's our life, and most people it is in this country, and it's outstanding, and we talk about it all day, and I'm okay that it will take the next 5 months to come back.
See, you're okay with it because, I mean, you're obviously a big baseball fan as well, so spring training is around the corner and whatnot, so we have other things to look forward to in the NHL playoffs, for those hockey fans out there like me. So we got those things coming up, but dude, some people are just diehard football fans, and that's it. So
I get it.
It's all they got, Brent. It's all they got, man.
Yeah, we love it, and it pays the bills, so we appreciate that. So, hey, listen, it's not like we're not talking about football. We're going to spend the next half hour right now talking about Jalen Ramsey. I do want to share my buddy Jack Oschenbach says it's time to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks because he's a big Milwaukee fan like you.
Oh, cool.
He's a Wisconsin guy.
Yeah.
Now,
He likes the Packers, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah.
But so he wanted us to talk about the Bucs, and you did talk about the Bucs.
Yeah, growing up, I was a huge Bucs fan. Back in the Sam Cassell, Ray Allen days. And it's funny, and I don't sound like a hypocrite before we move forward here, Brent, but I kind of swore the Bucs off after they traded Ray Allen away for Gary Payton, who's like 87 years old.
I thought you were
going to
bring me back to the Jack Sikma days.
No, I don't know who that is, Brent. I wasn't born yet. No, I've heard of him. But because it was Ray Allen, man. Like he got game. When Spike Lee joined, he was Jesus Shuttlesworth, and they traded him away for Gary Payton, who was literally 85 years old when Gary Payton came in. His knees couldn't hold up the whole season.
The glove didn't fit.
The glove did not fit at all, and so ever since then, I was kind of a hater with the Milwaukee Bucks. But it's hard not to like him now, especially with the Greek Freak. So.
One more mention of my man Jack Aschenbach, who runs the North Florida Junior Golf Foundation, and our Dreams 18 supports that. So you can get players tickets right now to the Players Championship, $55 good any one day, and it supports junior golf in the area. So www.nfjg.org for our friends at North Florida Junior Golf Foundation. All right, let's talk a little football. Let's talk Jalen Ramsey. Your thoughts on, we've kind of missed the whole football season with the Jags, everything that transpired with them in terms of Jalen talk. What's your thoughts on Jalen from where you sat the last couple of years, from a player, teammate, personality standpoint? Give us an overview from Austin Lane's view.
So I've never had the opportunity to have him as a teammate. I was out before he came in. Listen, we're talking about Jalen Ramsey. There's kind of two schools of thought here. A lot of people want to call him cocky, and the other side calls him confident. Here's what I think about the whole Jalen Ramsey situation when it comes to cocky and confidence. Confidence comes from hard work, blood, sweat, and tears. And make no mistake about it, I've seen Jalen Ramsey train in person. Like when I used to train in the offseason, he would come into the same spot that I was. And so I would see him run all the routes. I would see him, work his butt off in the squat rack and everything, everything like that. The dude's got a work ethic that you wouldn't believe. Now, the whole cockiness part of it, you can't call him cocky because he's confident in the fact that he uses that confidence to play well. If you were to tell Jalen Ramsey, hey, don't go out there and talk any smack to the NFL teams, don't go in the media and say anything bad, don't be yourself. And he's being himself, by the way. This isn't some kind of facade. I truly believe he's being himself. So if you tell the man, listen, you can't be yourself anymore, watch his productivity on the field start to diminish because he can't be himself.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I think you're right on the field about being himself. I think that's who he is. He's got swag. He's got that arrogance, that confidence. And people want this package of a player and a person, and they want it like a made-up fictional character. Well, in my view, and I always say this, I'm not talking about Jalen and anybody. I'm talking about you guys that make it to that elite level. Well, dang it, you better have a confidence, a swagger, whatever it makes it, this ultra-competitive spirit, this whatever it is. You better have it as good as or better than all these other guys to make it, and especially if you want to be elite. And remember, Jalen Ramsey is on his way to being elite, elite, elite. And that means you have all those things that we just mentioned probably at a higher level than anybody else.
Exactly. But the problem with confidence is the fact that if you let the confidence affect the people around you and the people around you start suffering from that confidence, well, that's where you got an issue. Look no farther than the GQ article. And listen, I wasn't in that locker room last year, so you can attest to this more than I can, but I guarantee you there's media members asking other teammates like, hey, Jalen said this, Jalen said this, Jalen said this. So listen, once that starts happening, now all of a sudden you're not focused on the end goal of winning a football game. You're focused on something that another player said in Jalen Ramsey, and that's where the confidence can hurt you.
There's a fine line, and I think Jalen just learned this lesson last year. There is a fine line between selfish and this confidence, arrogance, swag that is good. Mm-hmm. And, again, it's a line that we all don't walk that anyway. I mean, that's a weird line to be on. That's not a commonality type thing. And so I think Jalen, as a young guy, young man, is kind of learning that. You said that's who he is. That is who he is on the football field. My interpretation of Jalen Ramsey in this last year, I don't think that's who he was. Him trying to, the GQ article is one thing. I think he says that. I think he talks it on the field.
Out of proportion. Yeah,
and I think he's going to talk about that in a moment anyway on a clip we're going to share. But I think this whole, when he was screaming at the media
in training camp and got suspended for it. When he's trying to, and this isn't about me, I kind of still find it humorous that he's blocking me, but when he's blocking people, when he's trying to be this evil guy, it's not him. So he is out of character in that sense. I think Jalen Ramsey, deep down, is a good dude. Like, I really do. I think he's a good dude. I think he was probably raised the right way. He probably feels the right way. But sometimes you have to separate that walking on the field and inside those white lines in a nasty sport where you have to be this villain kind of character and player. And then when you get off it, well, you got to kind of just be you too. And that's not really who he is on a day-to-day basis. That's who he is when he's kind of inside the lines. That on-off switch sometimes gets muddied. And I think in 2018, it kind of got stuck between on and off depending on where he was and what time of day and what time of week it was. It changed a lot of different times this last year.
And from what I saw, the perception of him, especially from Jaguars fans, when it changed was when they were going to the AFC Championship game and they just got done playing in Pittsburgh, and he comes back and there's like a pep rally going on or whatever, you know, like a little fan get together, I guess you would say, in the stadium. And Jalen says, I don't know if I can even repeat it, but he's like, you know, we're going to go to New England. We're going to go to New England and kick their, you know what? And people had an issue with that, which I thought was funny. Because listen, and I know in the video he ends up apologizing for that, and he kind of, you know, regrets that. Why do you regret that?
Nah, I don't.
Do you think Tom Brady and Bill Belichick woke up in the morning? They're like, oh, I can't get out of bed. I just want to lay in bed a little bit. Wait, what's this? We see Jalen Ramsey talking smack about us. Oh, I'm feeling motivated now. You're the New England Patriots. You don't need any, you know, bulletin board material.
Do you think they lost the game in the AFC Championship game because Jalen said that in front of a pep rally kind of welcome home crowd?
Anything to do with it?
Absolutely not.
I promise you.
Like, he actually says this in this interview with Ashlyn Sullivan on Jaguars.com. They said, well, I made a mistake by doing that. That would be one thing I would say, no, you didn't, Jalen. I don't think you did. I think that's today's day and age where things get blown out of proportion. I fault him with no fault, actually, on that moment at all. I was surprised he went back to that and said, well, I probably shouldn't have said that.
No, that was great.
I don't agree
I
with
loved it.
I really don't. Now, to me, that wasn't bulletin board material, even if they tried to make it seem like that. We do have a clip from the Jaguars.com interview with Ashlyn Sullivan. They did this recently, and he talks about the GQ article, and that's what I wanted to let people hear. Take a listen.
The GQ interview was, I didn't think it was going to go like that. I thought it was like when he wrote the interview, it was going to be based off more of the fashion that was taking place. You know, we were just rolling. Kind of like barbershop talk, possibly a little bit. We're in the car talking, and the topics kept on coming up, and I was just being kind of blunt, just like throwing stuff out there, just for people to get the context of everything. It wasn't as serious as certain people read it in. But it is what it is. I don't regret it. Just learn from it, and you know, maybe take a little different path and see it before it's public.
Well, that's interesting thoughts from Jalen Ramsey, talking about the GQ article, saying, hey, this was, what do you think when you think GQ?
Yeah,
right?
Fashion.
You think fashion. Well, he was thinking that too. And he was thinking that, okay, well, they're not going to try to, you know, pull me into this vortex that I'm going to get into. And in hindsight, he kind of mentions that in that conversation there with Ashlyn Sullivan. Again, you can see the whole thing on Jaguars.com. But to me, that wasn't actually even Jalen as much as probably his representation. You got to go back and look. I talked to a marketing person this weekend at the Super Bowl, and they said, you can't do the GQ article. Like, that's what they're after. Yeah. They're after that stuff. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I didn't get that either. I thought that was just kind of Jalen, kind of just being Jalen. And they said from a publicist or representation standpoint, you got to be really careful with outlets like that because that's what they're trying to get, not just talking about, hey, I like to wear this hat on game day.
Well, and obviously he didn't know that, and I really didn't know that either.
Yeah, I didn't either until this
GQ
week.
And I'm thinking fashion. Something we haven't really talked about, I'd love to talk about the next segment, is the fact that in that video, Todd Wash is seen saying, hey, Jalen, this is your team now. You have to act right. Is it really Jalen Ramsey's team? That's something I want to get into the next segment.
Is it Jalen Ramsey's team? Advice from Deion Sanders also about that GQ article that we'll take a listen to. More on Jalen. Can't talk enough about Ramsey. Coming up next on ESPN 690.
Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
Sports Center updates at the top and bottom of every hour. And the latest breaking news and sports around the clock. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
I wasn't prepared to be a caregiver to Mom. But a little over a year ago, we realized she couldn't take care of herself without our help. And well, how could I not be there for her? I had no idea how hard it would be, and just what I would need to know. Things I never thought of, like how to improve her mood, and even for me, ways to stay positive. Luckily, I found the Caregiving Resource Center from AARP. It had articles about the basics that got me started, but also information about the hurdles I was facing in this new role. I could even connect with experts and hear from others who had been in my place. I know this road we're on isn't an easy one, but I'm really happy to have the extra help for her and for me.
Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving. Articles, tips, and tools to help you both care for your loved one and care for yourself. This message is brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
News 104.5 WOKV is now exclusively on 104.5 FM. News 104.5 WOKV is where you'll find the latest breaking news, First Alert Storm Center coverage, and traffic alerts. 690 is where you'll find the home of the worldwide leader in sports, ESPN 690, featuring Golick and Wingo in the morning, Dan Le Batard, and Stephen A. Smith. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
Now, back to Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Talking some Jalen Ramsey here on a Tuesday, ESPN 690. Brent Martineau, Austin Lane, Justin Kuzart, Stuart Weber will join us in a little bit. We'll talk more about recruiting and National Signing Day on the horizon tomorrow. Big day all across the country for so many high school kids. But I want to continue this talk about Jalen Ramsey. Again, I think he's I didn't share my view. My view on Jalen Ramsey is he's a young guy that's going to make some mistakes. I feel like in 5 years he's going to look back on this time and be like, okay, I probably shouldn't have done that. I did that. I regret that a little bit. And I think actually in this interview on Jaguars.com with Ashlyn Sullivan, he kind of does that a little bit already. So I think it shows his maturation. Some of Jalen Ramsey, to me, is calculated. He's a really smart kid. He's a bright kid. He's articulate. He's calculated. And sometimes those calculations aren't well done. And I think this was an example of that, this whole GQ article that everybody talked about all season long. Now, what's crazy about Jalen is if they had continued to win, that GQ article would have been like, wow, look at Jalen. He was right. He hammered all these guys. He picked them all off. He was exactly right about Matt Ryan being overrated. He was exactly right about Eli Manning not having anything left. He was exactly right about whatever else he said.
Yeah.
But when you lose and you go poorly, and then all this stuff we ask all every week about, but you said this, Jalen, but you said that. Again, it will be a lesson learned. But the view I have of Jalen Ramsey is, yeah, he's sometimes difficult. He makes you work as a media member because I think he is bright and he knows what he's doing and he knows what he's saying most of the time. It's almost like it's genuine, but at the same time almost feels like it's crafted to be this big story. Like Dion almost felt that way when he was primetime. Like there's this image and brand that he's building every time he gets in front of a microphone. But I do like it because I've been in Jacksonville for a decade and we haven't had that guy. We haven't had many of those guys. And the thing about Jalen is he might come with a little bit of that rubs people the wrong way sometimes, but he comes with what I think looks like a Hall of Fame skill set. And we have not had many of those guys in Jacksonville. So I think you need the edge. You need the swagger. As long as it comes with that unbelievable play, which is what he gives you most of the time, sign me up for it. Don't sign me up for 53 of them in the locker room because that can be a bad thing. Mm-hmm. But sign me up for 2 or 3 of those guys, and they'll help you take you to the mountaintop, in my opinion. I think you need some of that in a room, no matter what sport you play.
Agreed, and we're talking great corners in Jacksonville. The other one that comes to mind is Rasheed Mathis, and I spent a lot of time playing with Rasheed, And Rasheed was never really the cocky, the brash, you know, I mean, if you want to call him cocky, I call him confident, but he was never, I mean, he was confident, obviously, but he was never the guy that was going to talk smack, go to the interviews and GQ, you know, and talk bad about other people or, you know, give the media a hard time. Rasheed was never like that, you know, because that's who Rasheed is. Just like I think this is who Jalen is. And Jalen needs to do this in order to play his best football. And if that's what needs to happen, then it's like I said, you can be confident all you want, but just make sure it doesn't affect your other teammates.
All right, so there's a tact that Jalen Ramsey now I think will apply to his game, his swag game, his confidence game, his game in front of a microphone. Deion Sanders gave us a little insight in an interview with the Players Tribune recently, and this was tweeted out in the last day. And he talked about what he said to Jalen Ramsey after that GQ article came out. He called up Jalen Ramsey, and of course, you got to know this. Ramsey is trying to be Deion Sanders. He thinks he's got the skill to be as good as primetime. And I think he almost at times wants this whole package. Like, I want the brashness, and I want the swagger, and I've already got the game, I feel like. Well, Deion was one of a kind in that sense. But this was really interesting what Deion said. Take a listen. It's a little bit lengthy, but kind of soak it all in what he had to say about being primetime and also about Jalen Ramsey.
There were so many misconceptions. We didn't have the platforms to explain ourselves. We didn't have the platforms to speak openly. We didn't have that. So therefore, the media shaped who we were. So people got a snapshot and they got a selfie of me from the media, not from me, because they never cared enough for us to be explanatory. So media painted pictures of who they wanted to paint back then. Take someone like a kid that I adore, like Jalen Ramsey. Jalen came out on a platform and said something about multitude of quarterbacks, multitude of receivers. So I called him, I said, I'm gonna tell you something, partner. Don't do that. But Prime, I said, no, you got this misconstrued. I never spoke about my opponent. I never said nothing about a quarterback who I was playing against. I talked about me. There's a difference. I talked about me, what I was gonna do. I never said what they couldn't do. But that's the misconception. The misconception of back then is because the media painted the picture. I was this guy and I was that guy. It wasn't. Nobody know I never drank, never smoked, stopped using profanity my sophomore year in college. Nobody really knows that. They never painted that. It was this. This is who got it. And they put them in the categories. This is bad and this is good. Because they always had a good guy and they always had a villain. So either you were going to be what they wanted you to be or you weren't going to be at all.
I love the comments from Deion Sanders there. You know, I think he's a polarizing guy at times because of what he says. He's flashy and wasn't his playing days. And even now, even as an analyst sometimes, it does sometimes feel all about Deion, right? And I think we are guilty of what he said. I thought that was a fascinating 2 minutes of what Deion Sanders said, not just about Jalen Ramsey, but about the way he feels. And I can see how players feel that way because here's what you don't do. As much as people will say about, say, a Jalen Ramsey right now, or a Deion Sanders, well, I bet 70% of it's good, maybe even 80%. But that 20 to 30% that's not good is what fills those guys' minds up. You know, so even Deion back in the day, he's bringing up those times of where he was labeled as this, well, that was probably 20% of the people, but that's what sticks up in their mind, right? That's the chip. That's what gets those guys going. And so that's what they bring up. And I'll give you a perfect example of this. Jalen Ramsey, when he had a run-in with the media in training camp, we talked to him a little bit. His perception was that the local media was hammering him, was being negative all the time. And it was actually laughable. Like the local media, first of all, is in Jacksonville,
the market
gets labeled as soft in Jacksonville. And on top of that, like, I feel like people around here have said Jalen Ramsey's going to be a Hall of Famer. The Jags were about to win. Everybody in Jacksonville picked the Jags to go to the Super Bowl last year. Just about everybody. So it was laughable that was his perception because he might have heard something on a radio show or he might have heard somebody tweet, say they said this about you. And that's what stays in their mind. And so, again, that's what makes them great in one sense because of the chip, the competitive nature, the motivation. You need that internal motivation. But, man, that was like something on ESPN that Jalen was really referring to, like from the national guys, from somebody that said something, in Bristol, Connecticut. Had nothing to do with the local media, but he kind of grouped it all together. So it's really fascinating how these guys think when you're in the public eye like that and you're getting criticized on every play, every Sunday, every move you make. It's a world that most of us don't live in, but I think Deion just gave you a little bit of insight about it.
Yeah, and getting back to just like the criticism part, I mean, that's all part of the game. That's what you sign up for, and especially and Deion didn't really have the social media back then.
Yeah.
So it
probably thankfully, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the game's completely different now. And don't get me wrong, when it comes to social media, listen, I can say, yes, you play for a team, but you're also your own brand. So I'm all about, venturing out, doing the GQ articles. I mean, doing other things to try to value your brand at a higher level. I'm all for that. Go get your money. Absolutely. But, getting back to the point where it's, the criticism, things like that, some players, they read that stuff on Twitter and then they see it on TV, they hear it on the radio, and they use that. And they use that as motivation. That's great. Sounds good. But don't ever let it get to the point where it's like you're going to war with somebody, because then I don't want to say that crosses the line, but then that's taking up your headspace, and it's not positive thoughts, and I'm not in Jalen Ramsey's head. I'm not in any of these players' head, so I can only speak for myself. But from being a former football player, if I would have let, what Vito used to say or anybody used to say about me really get to my head and really let it affect me to the point where I'm upset, where it becomes more than just motivation, it becomes me against them, then you're taken away from your abilities and you're taken away from the team dynamic, because now it's all of a sudden it's going to be a distraction.
Yeah, and Jalen dealt with that this year a little bit from a media and fan perspective. But even a couple years ago, Allen Robinson really dealt with that, and he did not handle it well. And the lesson learned there is, but I am not one of these guys that says, "Oh, media is so powerful and blah blah blah, we will win the." But the bottom line I learned in those couple of instances is fans and the media, you're probably not going to defeat the narrative. You can't be a single player and defeat the narrative. You don't have enough people in your camp and space and time in front of a microphone probably to do it. So try not to take it on. Just let it go.
Exactly. Listen, I was on a team here that won like 3 games in the whole year. It was a rough season. A lot of people pointing their fingers and whatnot. And we had to deal with you guys. We had to deal with the media every single day. But at the same time, you guys got a job to do. You got to tell stories, and we have a job to do. And it's part of our contract. We've got to talk to the media. So I never took it personally. It was never a me against the media kind of situation. And you can't have it at that because, like I said, it's bad energy, and it's going to affect the team dynamic.
I thought Deion was fascinating, though, and I didn't realize it until he said, I always talked about myself.
Yeah.
That's a great way to do it.
It is.
What a great lesson learned for Jalen Ramsey.
Increase your brand.
Hey, I'm not done with Jalen. What's next? And you talked about leadership and that Todd Wash moment. We'll talk about it next on ESPN 690.
ESPN 690 SportsCenter Update.
I'm Aaron, and Steelers wide receiver Antonio Brown can't seem to get out of his own way. Today we're reading reports of a domestic disturbance at Brown's Hollywood home back in January where the cops had to be called out. ESPN's Teddy Bruschi says the circus around Brown is just a terrible fit for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I don't think there's any chance Antonio Brown's going to be playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers next year. I mean, this is an organization that's only had 3 head coaches. I mean, they pride themselves on stability, making it through the tough times, and then coming out the other side.
Folks in New England have come out to show gratitude for their champion Patriots at today's parade. If you had Gronk wearing a police vest while drinking wine and chugging beer in your What's Gronk Gonna Do at the Parade pool, congrats, you win. And finally, Mandarin Mustang star quarterback Carson Beck has decommitted from Alabama for the 2020 season. No word on where he's now looking to attend. You can stream us live from any phone or computer right now. Just go to ESPN690.com and hit the Listen Live button.
Hey everybody, it's Brent Martin of Action Sports Jacks. My good friends at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville are taking customer service to the next level. Their no-risk, no-pressure approach is incredible. Take it from me, we have a Hyundai in our family, and we couldn't be more impressed with this no-risk, no-pressure approach by Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. We're all human. Sometimes we change our minds. For example, perhaps you buy a new Hyundai Elantra from Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville, but then realize, I actually need something with more room to carry the kids to and from practice, Don't worry, because Jenkins Hyundai knows how to handle the situation. If you're not 100% satisfied with the vehicle for any reason, you can bring it back to Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville within the first 7 days for your money back. And you can pick up something more roomy, like the new Hyundai Santa Fe. The Hyundai you want, the service you deserve, all with Jenkins' exclusive lifetime warranty. Go check out the showroom and visit them online at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com and tell them Brent Martineau sent you.
From the NBA to the NFL, we've got you covered. The worldwide leader in sports. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
You watch Action Sports Jax on CBS 47 and Fox 30.
Now Action Sports Jax is on your radio.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios.
Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
Well, how good of a player, how big of a player, how big of a name is Jalen Ramsey? We're spending our third segment on him. On Tuesday, February 5th, not like he just picked off 3 passes on Sunday. This is the offseason. And to me, that's the beauty of it. We got a guy in Jacksonville that is a national brand, to me, he's already bigger than any player the Jags have ever had from a national brand standpoint. And I know what you're going to tell me. You're going to say, well, Maurice Jones-Drew. Maybe. We can debate it. We can have the argument.
Fred Taylor?
No way.
No?
No
Okay.
way.
Okay.
Nationally? No way.
Okay.
Not in my opinion.
Okay.
And again, in fairness to Fred, lived in a different world. Like Maurice Jones-Drew became so popular from a national brand standpoint that it was because of the fantasy football. He had all those touchdowns. He was a fantasy football star that really helped.
That's an excellent point.
And now Jalen, I love that music, but I thought it might play the whole segment.
Little Skrillex, or what was that?
I don't know, generic bed.
Yeah, Skrillex and generic bed.
But Jalen burst on the scene, and don't get this wrong. This is why sometimes having a little villain in your personality or persona is a good thing. Where he hit a new level. He was already respected as a talented player. He had already made noise a little bit with his Steve Smith back and forth in the locker room. Where he hit a new level was when he got in the fight with A.J. Green. No, that's where it took off.
I know. It was funny, though, because I feel like A.J. Green's like one of the most humble wide receivers of all time. And, yeah, he definitely, flipped something in a switch in his head because A.J. Green, wanted to kill him, it seemed like.
So. That's where his persona, brand, all of it took off. Was the A.J. Green thing. And then, of course, it was sensational. And the Jags had success. And then he continues to be. Now he's in the top 100 NFL commercial. I mean, we got a Jags player in that commercial.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in Jacksonville all the time. This guy's a different dude when it comes to Jacksonville. And you hope he can get a couple more guys like it. But right now, he's really the one. I mean, most organizations, you'd like the quarterback to be that guy. And it would be nice if a quarterback here in Jacksonville could be that guy. And I'm not talking from a villain hero standpoint. I'm talking from a transcendent across the nation player. Well, we don't have that in Jacksonville. We had it as a punchline with Blake Bortles, unfortunately. Unfair to him, I think, at times.
Yeah.
But Jalen Ramsey is that guy for the Jaguars and across the NFL.
He is that guy, and you got to keep in mind, it's from a position where he's usually on an island, so it's one-on-one. All eyes are going to be on him. It's not like he's a defensive lineman where, sometimes you can have a good game, sometimes you have a bad game. People aren't necessarily really going to notice all the time. But with Jalen, I mean, if Jalen gives up one long pass, people are all over him on Twitter.
Absolutely.
Because then that comes with the territory. That comes with the position where he's at that position where he's taking it all upon himself, where it's one-on-one, mano-a-mano, may the best man win. So that's why it's also so intriguing with his personality is the fact the position that he's playing.
One of the reasons we're talking about Jalen Ramsey so much today, just came out with an interview with Ashlyn Sullivan on Jaguars.com if you want to check that out. Also because Deion Sanders had comments on the Players Tribune tweeted out in the last day or so that I found really interesting. So I want to stay on it for just a couple more minutes and then we'll move on. But Ramsey, like you just said those things about Ramsey. Ramsey as a player from a cornerback position, think about it over the last 15, 20 years. Give me your corners that are in the Ramsey, I'm talking skill, brand, persona, all of it. Gets in front of a microphone and you want to hear it. You want to turn it on. Give me a list.
Well, I'm going to throw Revis in that category.
He's on my list.
Yeah, but as far as like the interviews,
not from a villain standpoint.
No, but I mean, he kind of quoted the term "the island." You know, he was Revis Island.
He had a brand.
He had the brand,
and he was so damn good.
Yeah,
that brand carried weight.
I mean, he changed the position forever.
Yes,
so definitely he's on there.
He's on my list.
Sherman,
very
obviously.
Good. By the way, just like Jalen's AJ Green moment pushed him in front of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Richard Sherman, you mad, bro?
Yeah.
That was where his moment. He became this next level kind of guy, where everybody was polarizing.
Exactly.
Okay, get any more?
I mean, are we going just corners?
Well,
are we going
Deion.
Deion. Are we going secondary or just corners?
No, just corners. That's it. Am I missing someone?
That's all I can think of. Yeah, that's all I got for you.
That's all I can think of.
20 years.
You know, I can't think of another one.
Yeah. So you're right.
I mean, think about that. Think about what we just said in the last 2 decades plus, maybe 25 years. You're talking about Jalen in a conversation from a branding standpoint as a cornerback in the NFL, like Deion, Richard Sherman, Darrelle Revis. And Revis, by the way, is different than all three of those guys because Revis isn't necessarily a polarizing figure.
No,
like he wasn't controversial at any time. He didn't really rip people.
Kind of kept to himself.
Yeah, and he wasn't so brash like that. Right? Again, now you're going to tell me, if you're listening right now, this isn't a quest to find the best cornerbacks over the last 25 years. I'm talking about branding. Patrick Peterson has gone to 8 straight Pro Bowls before the age of 29, and I believe only 2 other players in NFL history have done that. Yet, he's one of the nicest guys on the planet.
Yeah.
So from a brand standpoint, he's kind of forgotten about in Arizona.
And keep in mind, Jalen's doing this from a small market team in Jacksonville.
Yes.
And not on the national level, you know, like playing in Dallas or in New York.
Okay, so that I just wanted to punch home how big that is. So here's where, if you're like kind of lukewarm on the Jalen stuff, this is where I think we're going to get to the leadership part. And I think he is a team guy. And I'm going to give you 2 reasons. There's parts of me at times that have wondered, all right, this guy's too selfish, man. I mean, you can be arrogant, you can be confident, but can you be that selfish? And yes, there are times the selfish invades, and there are parts of that. And I call it more immaturity than selfish. But I think he's a big team guy, and I'll tell you why. Indianapolis game, he played bad in the first half. They gave up 29 points, and he played bad. And he started to, leading up to that Indianapolis game with the media, it was in London and those other media sessions where it was 2 minutes long and he wouldn't answer any questions. I don't know if people remember that, but he was hardly saying anything.
I remember that.
His way for apologizing to that bad performance was not to say, and I thought he should have, by the way. I thought he should have come out after that Indy game and said, listen, I played awful. But you know he's got too much pride to say that. His way of combating that and saying, listen, I played bad and I'm going to pay the price and I'm going to answer your questions. He flipped right then. After that piss-poor performance against Indianapolis, by his standards, he said, all right, I'm talking to the media again. It changed that day. I can go back and show you the interview. It changed that day. The other thing that he did is he bounced back, and he had 2 interceptions the very next week after that Indianapolis poor performance. And then I'll finish it off with one more thing that shows to me he's a team guy. He had, I think it was the Indianapolis game here, and it might have been the Pittsburgh game here. So follow me along, but it's one of those 2.
Yep.
He has a knee injury. Doug Marrone doesn't think he's even going to play. There's reports that he's not even going to play that week, and I don't know if it was Antonio Brown or if it was against the Colts. I can't remember which one. He played both games. He played really well. But he later told me after that game, I said, when did you decide to play? And he said, I just came here Sunday morning and said, I got to go work it out and see if I'll be able to play. My point to this is he wants to play. He played through injuries. And when you play through injuries, even though you really don't have to in a season that's lost and you already know you're going to make the Pro Bowl and all these things, and you still play, that shows me you're a team guy. You're playing for your brothers. You are playing for your team. He might not always come across as this team guy, but I think those instances show, you know what? All right, this isn't just about me. This is about this team. And I said it that day, when he played with that knee injury, that was the day he made the Pro Bowl. There were still like 4 or 5 weeks in the season. He made the Pro Bowl that day. He played outstanding. And again, I think it was against Antonio Brown that day. But the fact that he played through some of these injuries late in the season showed me a lot about Jalen Ramsey. And I don't know if everybody else took it that way, but he is never going to be the rah-rah guy. I'm not sure he'll ever even wear a C on his jersey. But I do think he's a team guy in that sense.
Okay. Well, so here's where this stems from, and this is why I'm bringing it up. So I watched that whole Jalen Ramsey video today that the Jaguars put out, and during one part of it, Coach, Todd Wash put out, basically said in the video, hey, this is your team now, so you choose how you're going to act. So it said it was his team. Is this really Jalen Ramsey's team? Because the guy's not even a captain. And now, getting back to your points, Richard Sherman, Darrelle Revis, Patrick Peterson, they're all captains.
Was Deion ever?
I don't think so. That I can tell you off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, but that was a different time,
No,
right?
that's fine.
Okay.
I was just asking.
No,
really.
for sure. So usually on captains, especially teams that I've been on, and you can probably name any team, the captains are usually two types of players. Well, yeah, we'll say two types of players. Obviously, there's the special teams guys, so we're just going to count them out. All right? But either it's your star players.
Sorry, McRae. Sorry, Laurenti.
But either your captains are going to be star players, or they're going to be guys that have been in the system for a long time.
Yep.
Okay? And those are the two. So then why isn't Jalen Ramsey a captain? Because don't tell me, well, he's not that much of a rah-rah kind of guy. Guess what? I played with Daryl Smith and Paul Plesney, who weren't rah-rah guys by any means. But we respected him, and we played for him.
Lead by example, guys.
I went to Paul Plesney's retirement ceremony because why? Because he was the captain, dude. That's a guy that I'm going to look forward to telling my grandson about when I played with him one day. You know what I'm saying? It had that type of effect on me. So don't give me, well, he's not the rah-rah type. That's got nothing to do with it. And this past season, when the players voted on the captains, Ramsey wasn't one of those guys.
True.
So I ask you this: why is that?
Well, I also ask you, can we drug test the players because they voted Leonard Fournette a captain?
Yeah.
I mean, what were they thinking that day? What happened that day at practice that they voted for captains and somehow Leonard Fournette was voted a captain of the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Yeah.
So if they voted Fournette a captain, then maybe Jalen Ramsey will be a captain someday.
Maybe. I'm just saying, a guy going in his fourth year, Brent, who's been a Pro Bowler, been an All-Pro, not being a captain, I don't get it.
I was thinking that he wouldn't be because it doesn't seem like he wants that position. He wants to lead by example, but you just brought up a good point. Guys do. Darryl Smith, Paul Plesney, those guys lead by example rather than vocal. And there's a lot of guys that don't wear the C that are vocal, So, I mean, Roy Miller, for a long time, I don't think had a C on his jersey, but he was always the guy that gave the pregame pep talk. So So now that you got me thinking, I said, well, maybe he will wear the C someday because leading by example is important, and he's your best player, and you want your best players probably wearing the C.
Absolutely.
So it'll be interesting someday if he gets that.
Yeah, I just think it's an interesting topic to talk about because you look around the NFL, and usually it's either the top players or the guys that have been in the system. Well, guess what? That Jaguars defense, I don't think anyone's been longer there than 5 years. So we can't go to that point. So then we got to look at the top players. Jalen Ramsey's obviously the top player. The team voted on captains. Why wasn't he a captain?
Yeah, interesting. And we'll see how they handle that this year. I'm not sure they're going to let the team pick captains.
No, I don't think so. It's going to be Tom Coughlin, nobody else.
Jalen Ramsey. I don't think he's going anywhere for a long time in Jacksonville. I think he's going to the Hall of Fame someday. That's how strong I feel about Jalen Ramsey's play. We just spent 45 minutes talking about Jalen, and I probably could spend another 45. But next, we talk a little recruiting on ESPN 690.
Built with the biggest names in sports, all on one radio station. Golic and Wingo, Dan Le Batard, Stephen A. Smith, and Action Sports Jack's Brent Martineau every afternoon. Plus, Sports Center updates at the top and bottom of every hour. And major breaking news in sports when it happens. Make us your only button for sports. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. The all-new ESPN 690.
Hey everybody, this is Brent Martineau. If you've received a letter from the IRS and can't pay them, things can get bad quickly. The IRS can seize your bank account, garnish your wages, and place liens against everything you own. If this is you, contact J. David Tax Law, a local firm right here in Jacksonville. Your first step to stop IRS harassment is a no-cost consultation. They explain exactly your options and how they will resolve your tax issue. Only highly experienced tax attorneys will represent you, and fee payment plans are affordable for everyone. Get the protection you deserve. Peace of mind is only a click or phone call away. The fastest way to get started is to call 904-507-4777. 904-507-4777. or online at jdavidtaxlaw.com. The number again, 904-507-4777, or online at jdavidtaxlaw.com.
Hey, it's Bill with Bill Fenwick Plumbing. You have to wait a long time for hot water to reach your bathroom in the morning? Some of our customers have told me they turn their water on in their bathroom, go make the bed, brush their teeth, and finally the hot water reaches the end of the house. Not only does it waste water, but it also adds additional water and sewer charges on your utility bill. We can now install a pump that monitors your hot water usage daily and moves water down to that side of the house when you need it, without the wait. To schedule or find out more, call us or go to BillFenwickPlumbing.com.
I wasn't prepared to be a caregiver to Mom, but a little over a year ago, we realized she couldn't take care of herself without our help. And well, how could I not be there for her? I had no idea how hard it would be, and just what I would need to know. Things I never thought of, like how to improve her mood and, even for me, ways to stay positive. Luckily, I found the Caregiving Resource Center from AARP. It had articles about the basics that got me started, but also information about the hurdles I was facing in this new role. I could even connect with experts and hear from others who had been in my place. I know this road we're on isn't an easy one, but I'm really happy to have the extra help for her and for me.
Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving. Articles, tips, and tools to help you both care for your loved one and care for yourself. This message is brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
From Daytona Beach to Brunswick, now ESPN can be heard loud and clear everywhere on one of the powerful AM radio stations in Florida. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
This is Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau
on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Oh, I love my job. I love what you can talk 45 minutes about one player.
How you
You can't do that on TV.
Well, first of all, I mean, is this all about just getting him to unblock you from Twitter? Is that what
really
this 45
is. I know
minutes
people
has been
think.
about?
Some guy asked me about that too. He said, "Oh, you must be unblocked now that you're going to talk about him." It's like I've said the same stuff in terms of I like Jalen. I think he's an unbelievable player. I love the fact that we get to cover him. All those things, blocked or unblocked. So let's not do that. And no, I don't think I'll be unblocked. I don't think that's happening anytime soon. But I also believe I think Jalen and I have a very good relationship. That's my perspective on it. In terms of, I don't know about very good. I don't think he's having me over for dinner, but like he's very nice to us in the media for the most part. Now he can be difficult at times. I've said that. I've said it to him, but I think it's kind of cool for us to be challenged sometimes. I don't have a problem with that as long as he treats people with respect, and I think he does, other than maybe that one time when he MF'd everybody coming off the field.
Well, speaking of having a problem, Brandon, this is my second question to you, having a problem. How you can eat ice cream in front of me right now, man?
Well, yeah. Well, Stuart was kind enough to bring this up.
Yeah.
And
because the last time I didn't bring food, I was outed on social media.
Hey, just saying, man, the people have spoken.
That's true.
So I decided to turn over a new leaf and bring food when it was presented.
Bluebell ice cream.
Yep.
So I had cookies and cream. Now you're not allowed to. You're about going.
I have to literally go fight for my life here in about an hour and a half with training. So
Well, hey.
ice cream's not going to be the greatest thing to be having
Like I
in
just
my
said, man.
tank.
I just said I love my job. I wouldn't want yours.
Oh, dude, don't say that, man. My job's amazing too. So,
but a little Bluebell ice cream because it's National. What is it? Meteorologist Day.
Weather
Are you
Person's
kidding
Day.
me? Are you kidding
They
me?
don't even have to be certified. It can just be a regular old weather person. Granted, here at Action News Jacks, all of ours are certified.
Listen,
Shout out to Action News Jacks.
Fun fact.
I love our weather folks. I love meteorologists. I actually wouldn't. I would have probably gone toward meteorology in this broadcasting career.
Yeah.
If I was any good at science.
Okay.
But I knew science was going. But I like I'm fascinated with the weather.
Yep.
But can we stop with this crap? I mean, National Meteorologist Day, whatever day, Weather Forecaster Day, Weathercaster Day, whatever it's called.
That's Brent Martineau on Twitter. I'm not going to say anything bad about the meteorologist here at
By the way,
Action.
it's at Brent A.S. Jacks on Twitter. Get
Sorry,
it right.
man. Sorry. I'm not going to say anything bad about the meteorologist here in the building just because it's my dream to one day, just for a day, do like the whole thing where you're
on the green screen.
I want on the green screen. It looks like a blast.
It's actually way harder than I think it looks. Like I've heard it's like really hard.
A little known fact.
Don't give that to them.
Yeah, it's not.
Don't boost them up.
Listen, I don't know how hard it is, but when I was in Alexandria, Louisiana, that was my first job. and I was hired as a third sports person, which means I was basically shooting a bunch and doing some reporting and helping out with the sports team. But in Alexandria, which is market 173 out of like 212 markets in the country, it's very small. Well, so for fill-in, I actually would fill in sometimes doing the news and sometimes doing the weather. And at that time, you really just this was like 1999, and you basically, in Alexandria, Louisiana, I'm not saying around here, you basically ripped everything right off the Weather Channel. or there was just like this feed that they would say, and then you had to put your graphics to, like, I literally did weather graphics and everything.
Yeah,
in Alexandria, I did the weather in Louisiana. And so, to Kuz's point, it is difficult because now they have to even build their graphics more, and they have to they're actually forecasting in Jacksonville. They're not just ripping it away from somebody else. But use of the green screen is tricky, like where to point and how to utilize that.
Bring it on.
We'll get you out there.
We can do that.
I'm not scared. Also, a question I've had too, I've been meaning to ask you guys, have you guys been in like the Action Jacks weathermobile outside?
The first alert storm tracker.
Sorry, I was way off.
Come on, get it right.
My bad.
The first alert storm tracker. And I've driven it to multiple high school football games.
Is it legit, or is it just pretty standard?
It's legit.
Yeah.
No. Okay, it's cool inside there.
Hey, dude, you want to pick up some chicks?
Yeah.
Get in the Action News Jacks storm
Action
tracker.
Jackson. Where's the action at?
I will say one of my favorite things about driving the storm tracker is that, like, if another Jeep passes you, because it's a souped up Jeep with all the equipment and bells and whistles to help us better forecast first alert all the time.
Okay.
But if a fellow Jeep passes you by, like, you can look over them, and one of them gave me the nod. I gave him the nod back.
Nice,
like
respect.
The Jeep nod. I was like,
respect.
Yeah.
What's up?
Respect.
Except the problem with the Jeep nod and the storm tracker is you seriously have to go like 60 miles an hour. That's it.
Okay.
You can't go.
It's
because
heavy.
you have all the equipment, it's super heavy.
It's super heavy.
And so you
that
got
thing will
old
rumble.
ladies passing you by.
We're definitely going to enjoy riding that. That thing looks like a blast.
But they're not angry. They're waving because they're happy to see the storm tracker.
And
I'm sorry. I'm not discriminating against old ladies.
A little bit.
My mom, who I would characterize maybe as an old lady. Sorry, Mom, if you're listening. She drives really fast.
Okay, fair enough. And I'm not sure if you...
Just like Marcel.
I'm sure my phone is ringing.
Well, that actually leads right into the whole
so
whiteboard
the
segment.
Whiteboard magic.
Yep.
Teenagers drive like they have limited time, and old people drive like they have all the time in the world.
It's true.
Another deep dive, whiteboard magic.
Yep. And I'm not sure when me and Stuart were talking, but I actually developed the tagline for the Action Sports Jacks I'm using now on camera, where it's, hey, I'm Austin Lane, Action Sports Jacks. I'm here for the action. And then I start talking to him. So that's a tagline. I'm here for the action.
So you created a brand here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, by the way, Weber, we have to put, he said he didn't watch the show the other night, so we have to tweet out.
If somebody could let me know what time you guys are on and when you guys air the show, that would be fantastic, because I had no idea.
That's probably on us for not tagging.
Yeah, I don't know.
Saying it enough, I guess.
That's
I feel like Brett probably
No,
said
it's not. I teased it all last week during the Super Bowl, and on top of that, I tweeted at you at like 6 o'clock on Saturday night saying it's on at 7.
I don't. On the weekends, the Twitter's in cruise control usually. All right, so don't come at me like I'm supposed to see that. Relax.
We'll
everybody.
tweet it.
Yeah, we'll tweet the whole thing out because it was an extended cut from the original cut you saw from opening night.
Okay.
Where we added some of your athletic prowess.
Hey, some of my athletic. I mean, was it hard to cut up all that athletic talent?
Well, let's just say this:
draft talks right now.
Say this: we didn't have the dartboard.
That's a good thing.
We took some things out. We put some things in.
Did you send it to Mel Kiper about me playing quarterback?
Not about you playing kicker.
Yeah, did you guys show that?
Oh, the squib kick made the cut.
Yeah,
that made it in there.
I'm fine. All right,
that
see
was
you guys
awful.
later.
That was disgusting.
I almost tore my ACL actually too. Not even exaggerating. It was bad.
But we will tweet
we didn't
it
show
out.
any bad passes though, so you're lucky.
Didn't have any bad passes.
Yeah,
too
that's
bad.
it.
Yep.
We will tweet it out later today, and I think we should maybe we'll tag Kuiper on it.
I like it.
And and Kuiper will put. See, you thought he was undraftable.
Hey, either you take Kuiper, I'll just take the video myself and put it on his doorstep. I'll go to Bristol, Connecticut, wherever he's at right now, and drop it right on his front door and be like, "Hey, you missed me the first time. This is round number 2. What do you got for me?"
Let's bring in. Hey, Stuart. Sorry, we had you come up talking a little recruiting, but there's some hoop news, so stay on with us a little bit longer.
I'm here.
NBA news, like a bunch. Kuz gets
Kuz
so
is
itchy
losing
over
his
there.
mind.
I mean, so I got to bring him in.
It's not even the All-Star break yet.
It really doesn't even stop. Like I'm telling you, I'm listening to you guys talk about Jalen Ramsey, learning about Mo Bamba and the Grizzlies trying to trade everyone. I'm like, I can't even pay attention right now. I'm all over the place.
Where are we at?
I wonder why that bed music ran for like 4 minutes.
I was actually going to say that's why the bed music ran for like the whole segment.
Mo Bamba news. Let's hear it.
Mo Bamba going to miss the rest of the season pretty much with a stress fracture in his lower left leg, though they're saying that it probably doesn't need surgery.
So I don't want injury news. I want trade news.
Yeah, where's the Anthony Davis talk?
No Anthony Davis talk, but the Grizzlies are in talks with the Utah Jazz and the Pistons and the Raptors for Marc Gasol and Mike Conley.
All right, so my question is, Grayson Allen plays for the Utah Jazz, obviously from Jacksonville, first-round pick, who I don't really think has done that much this NBA season.
I thought he was the lacrosse player back in the day, but okay.
Yeah, that's right. You told us that story. Yep. He would be kind of a guy potentially thrown into a deal like this, or no?
I haven't seen anything about that.
I know he's not in there, but you never know. Like a guy that's seldom used, would he get a change of scenery this early, or would they give up on him this early?
Donovan Mitchell's talked about a lot about how he likes him and has been giving, like, kind of mentoring him almost, even though he's only, like, what, a year older or a year in the NBA older. So I think they may keep it for a chemistry thing, although you would think if they brought in, like, a Mike Conley, then they have both those guys out there, it might actually hurt Allen's minutes even more than it already kind of is. I mean, I think I saw the last 5 games, he's only averaging about 7 minutes or so. So it's, they're easing him into it is at least what it looks like from the Jags
side.
Like
me on this show.
I was going to say, Austin, maybe we should ease you into this. Give you 4 minutes out of a 3-hour show.
No, you guys just threw me right in the fire right away. You guys just pulled the Blaine Gabbert and just said, hey, go get him. And that was it. So here we are now, week 4. Yeah, hopefully I can do a a little better than you did in Jacksonville. We'll see. I'm not. Hey, that's my old team. I'm not going to talk too much smack about it.
Okay, leave that up to everybody else.
Yeah.
Real American hero.
Yep.
All right, here's what I want to do. We're going to stick with Stuart Weber. He's got some recruiting rankings. National Signing Day, just a day away. And also, we talked Jalen Ramsey. I want to talk Leonard Fournette. My interview with LaDainian Tomlinson from Super Bowl week, I wanted to save so we can talk a little bit Leonard Fournette. That's coming up in the next hour here on Action Sports Jacks on the radio, ESPN 690.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and the off-the-field issues continue to be a problem for Steelers wide receiver Antonio Brown. According to the police down in Hollywood, Florida, where Brown lives, he was involved in a domestic dispute that had to be stopped by the police back in January. This is actually Brown's second run-in with Florida cops, and ESPN's Myron Metcalf says Steelers owner Art Rooney can't be surprised at this point.
AB been AB since day one, and he ain't going to change. He's wrong if he thinks all of a sudden this guy just read a couple of self-help books, watched a couple of motivational speeches and TED Talks, and all of a sudden he's going to change his tune.
And the crowds have come out in force for the New England Patriots as they celebrate their 6th title today in Beantown. It's got to be a familiar feeling up there as the city just threw the same parade for the Red Sox 4 months ago. And finally, Jacksonville's Mr. Football is calling an audible. Mandarin High QB Carson Beck, originally committed to Alabama for the 2020 season. He's now saying he plans to eventually attend another school instead. Listen live anytime by streaming us on your computer 24/7 at ESPN690.com.
Hey everybody, it's Brent Martin of Action Sports Jacks here to talk to you about my good friends, the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. They built this new dealership from the ground up, and they did it with you in mind, and it's a beautiful facility. Their focus is getting you into the car you want at an affordable price, and that's where their no-risk, no-pressure approach comes in. If you buy a vehicle from Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville and you're not 100% satisfied with your purchase, you can bring the vehicle back within the first 7 days for your money back. The Hyundai you want, the service you deserve, all with Jenkins' exclusive lifetime warranty. You can drive a Hyundai. Put a Hyundai in your family like we have in our family. And take it from me. My friends at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville will treat you right. Go check out the showroom. Visit them online at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com. The Hyundai you want, the service you deserve, all with the Jenkins exclusive lifetime warranty. Make sure you tell them Brent from Action Sports Jacks sent you.
Edible underpants, never classy. Edible arrangements, always classy. It's easy to make a big impression this Valentine's Day with the freshest fruit and the finest chocolate from Edible Arrangements. Don't wait until the last minute. Place your Valentine's Day order by February 10th and save 20% on all pickup orders over $50. Stop by your local Edible Arrangements and experience love at first bite, or order online and have delicious delivered at edible.com.
It's time for some straight talk. I'm ready for it. You want the best coverage, right? Of course. Don't want the QB throwing any deep bombs. I'm talking about coverage on your smartphone, Wingo. Oh, I get you now. I want the best nationwide coverage then. Well, you'll get it with Straight Talk. The same great 4G LTE networks as the big guys for up to 30% less. Man, you got to grab that deal and run with it. Take it to the house.
With nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks, get the Straight Talk $45 unlimited plan with 15 gigs of high-speed data. Only at Walmart. Savings may vary. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
Sports Center updates at the top and bottom of every hour. And the latest breaking news in sports around the clock. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690. Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. ESPN 690. Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio. WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, a Cox Media Group station.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi with the latest on All-NBA center Anthony Davis. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski reports Lakers president Magic Johnson wants the Pelicans to start offering counter-proposals to offers on Davis, threatening to end talks unless New Orleans shows a willingness to engage in a back-and-forth on reaching a deal. LA's added Josh Hart and Ivica Zubac to the package that also includes Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, Lonzo Ball, and 2 first-round picks. All that still not enough for a player like Davis, says ESPN's Tracy McGrady.
If I'm the Pelicans and I'm looking at what you're throwing at me, it's not intriguing to me. I'm not getting back a superstar player. Although I'm getting a bunch of guys back, a bunch of young talent, but there's no player that is going to change my franchise if I get rid of a franchise player.
Trade deadline Thursday at 3 Eastern. Also from Woj, Magic rookie center Mo Bamba will miss significant time with a stress fracture in his lower left leg. He's not expected to need surgery. Wizards point guard John Wall, already out the rest of this season with an injured heel, needs Achilles surgery that will sideline him for about 1 year.
Great news. There's a quick way you could save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
You watch Action Sports Jax on CBS 47 and Fox 30.
Now Action Sports Jax is on your radio.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
Hey, 5 o'clock hour on a Tuesday. Having a lot of fun. Talked a lot about Jalen Ramsey. Finished some last thoughts on Super Bowl 53. And we have signing day coming up tomorrow. And want to talk about that right now. Florida, Florida State, Miami, Georgia. What's the latest? How about all the local kids that will sign on the dotted line? And keep in mind, folks, we talk football a lot. And the headline grabbers are the football kids. But this is a huge day all across the area, all across the country for so many kids that have put so much work in other sports too. Whether it's crew, whether it's lacrosse, whether it's baseball, softball, basketball, you name the sport, wrestling, swimming. I mean, we have so much talent here in Northeast Florida on so many levels and so many different sports. And for those families and those kids, it's a huge day. And those coaches, huge day tomorrow to sign that dotted line. And, well, I always say, and we all say it now, it's become kind of cliche, but the biggest smile on National Signing Day is from mom and dad because that's getting you off the hook for some cash.
Without a doubt.
College.
Unless it's a spot like they don't want the kid to go to, because it's been happened a couple of times as well, where a player has committed to one university and the parents had other ideas, which is just amazing to me. But
yeah, it really
nevertheless,
is. I always say that we always care what our parents think. I always think mom has that hold over you, especially. You always care what mom thinks, right? Mm-hmm. But that is your decision. I believe. I don't think that's your parents' decision to make where you want to go to school.
Murray State. Talk about the signing day for the Racers.
Yeah, so it was pretty extravagant. I got out of my history. I got a history class, and I got to go downstairs to the gym, and they put up a picnic table, and there was a Murray State hat that looked like it was about 10 years old, and they sent the fax over. I signed the paper. That was it. I took a picture for the paper and then went to go take my history test. So, hey, pretty uneventful from Iola Scandinavia when it comes to signing day. I was like the first guy to ever sign a D1 scholarship, so that was kind of a big deal. We've actually had a couple after that. But as far as like the pomp and circumstance and the prestige, there was none of that whatsoever.
You were in the ESPN 3000, right?
What does that mean?
The recruiting rankings.
No, I was actually
3,000.
I was a 0-star athlete. I mean, I wasn't even in the database at all, so nobody knew who I was. It was my goal to go to Wisconsin. My senior year was Barry Alvarez's last year.
Yeah,
Barry loved me. I was going to try to get me a scholarship to actually play tight end, wide receiver. Brett Bielema took over. Bielema wasn't a fan of me. The rest is history.
Really? So if Alvarez stayed, you think
I
you
think
could have ended up at
I might have had a shot. Yeah, might have had a shot. And then besides that, I only had one other scholarship offer, and that was Murray State. I actually got the phone call a week before signing period, and it was funny because they're like, "Hey, we're Murray State. We have a scholarship for you." And I'm like, "Oh, all right, Murray State, New York. Let's do it." And they're like, "Actually, Murray State's in Kentucky." And I'm like, "All right, well, even better. You know, it's not a big deal." So I ended up signing that scholarship to Murray State. I was going to actually go to Minnesota State Mankato, a D2 school, play wide receiver there. Ended up going to Murray State. And it all worked out in the end.
Do you think you should have gone? Would you have had more fun playing the defensive end position that you played and getting to the NFL?
Yeah.
Because obviously that got you to the NFL. Or would it have been more fun playing wide receiver or tight end?
All my accolades back in high school really came from playing offense. You know, I was we ran like a lot of trips, so I was the one receiver on the other side of the trips, and I played tight end as well. It always makes you wonder, you know. And even Murray State was looking at me for a tight end / wide receiver role as well. So I was kind of up in the air. And then I knew the first day I got to the locker room, number 97 was hanging up. I'm like, guess I'm playing defensive end, you know. So, but yeah, you know, I've always kind of wondered what it would be like. But honestly, Brent, to sit here and tell you, man, I mean, I've had 5 years in the NFL, and I'm blessed to have that. So I think it all worked out for the best.
Saw Bielema at the hotel on Saturday.
Oh, you did?
He's with the Patriots, right?
assistant.
Yeah,
that's right. Special assistant or something like that. He was playing with his daughter in the lobby when we were waiting on the Baselli news.
Should ask him about Austin Lane.
Should have been like, "Coach, what is up?"
And I'm going to say this too, if there's any coaches listening. So, you know, I was supposed to sign with Minnesota State Mankato. I ended up not signing with them. Went with Murray State. Like I said, it was a week before signing period. So it's funny when you sign that dotted line and you say you're going to Murray State, how I guess other schools thought I was going to come play for them. For instance, there was a school in Minnesota, Duluth, who I didn't even give it a commitment to, but they called me and they were pretty upset. Like, "Hey, well, good luck playing defense." You know, like, you know, basically just kind of rude. And that coach isn't there anymore, so I don't want to put him underneath the bus.
But he was ticked off.
But I got a few phone calls where it was like, "Well, good luck doing that," because, you know, there are a bunch of nobodies at Murray State, and, you know, you were making the bad decision. And that always kind of stuck out in my mind, where if it did go bad in Murray State, I was going to transfer. I definitely wasn't going to go to one of those schools. However, there was a school, Northern State in South Dakota, go figure. They were a small like D2 school as well, who gave me a half a scholarship. That coach called me after I signed. He's like, "Hey, congratulations, you know, you got a full scholarship. That's awesome. Listen, if things don't ever work out, please keep us in mind. I'm cheering for you." So there's two ways you can handle, as a head coach, a player that doesn't come to you. Either you can be congratulatory and wish the best for him, and maybe it works out in the long run if he comes back. Or you can kind of, you know, be mean to him, and you can kind of heckle him a little bit and just, you know, send bad vibes his way and see how that pays off for you.
Recruiting has been around for a long time, but it's really taken off in the last decade. And I don't know what it goes back to.
It's a business now.
Maybe it's 2003. You know, maybe it's 2009. I don't know where the year it really took off, so I don't have that. But my point is, you were a 0-star, not even in the database.
Yeah, I wasn't in the database.
But in 2008-19, it is like impossible to slip through the cracks, it feels like. At least to not be on the radar with all the video and the technology and the services. And so do you think you would be in a database now coming out of high school in small town Wisconsin?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, the game's changed. Like I said, so we've had a couple guys go D1 now. There's a guy by the name of Christian Welsh who's a linebacker for Iowa, and he's a starting linebacker for them, and he got recruited as his senior year. So I think the fact that obviously when I played, man, it was like our film was basically like on like 8mm film. Like, it was just, you couldn't see anything. You know what I'm saying? So we would send this film out to the universities, and it's VHS. Wasn't really DVDs even yet. We had a few.
By the way, this is only 2006, people. Like,
I know.
It's not like Austin Lane's 50 years old.
No, for sure. So there's a combination of that, and there's the combination of like the combines and whatnot. Like, Yes, we did have the Midwest Combine. I had to pay $50, and I actually missed my prom a little bit. My date was pissed because I had to go to this combine. And dude, we're talking the combine. I didn't have a clue how to run a 40-yard dash. I'll never forget. I didn't have any like track spikes, so I ended up wearing my 20-ounce Kevin Garnett basketball shoes. And instead of and get this though, instead of getting like in my 40-yard dash stance, I got in like a normal defensive lineman stance, zero swag whatsoever. I think I ended up running like a 4.8. So it was just, it was kind of a whatever. It was kind of a pointless thing because I didn't know what I was doing. But nowadays, the whole combine thing, everything's different now.
What star would you be in today's
right
database?
Now?
What would you have been coming up?
So I don't know, man.
If they knew about you, 2-star.
I'd say probably a 2-star because, I mean, like I said, I'm from a really small town in Wisconsin. But the thing I had going for me, though, at the combine was actually there were some Badger recruits there. And the reason I got on the Badgers' radar was because of my broad jump. I actually broad jumped. I think I had this 3rd highest broad jump on the Badgers. It would have been.
Wow.
Like currently. So that's what kind of stuck me out in front of everybody.
So you should be in the Olympics.
I know.
See that?
I know.
All right.
Triple jump.
It's an interesting background, but also shows you how much it's changed. And it's changed to the point really now in the last 2 years, Stuart Weber, that we have 2 signing days. And
it's weird.
It's strange.
We're still figuring it out.
It's an interesting balance, and especially because now it rolls over into 2020, like the Carson Beck news of yesterday and this weekend that he's reopened his commitment. That's the bigger story, at least locally, going and really in the SEC and Southeast football right now, going into tomorrow than a lot of people they might get at Georgia, Florida, Alabama, all these other places.
Because you don't have the drama with the major Division I schools that you used to. You used to have all these guys making that decision, having the hats on the table, it coming down to the last thing. And now they do that in the December signing period, or they do it at the Under Armour All-American game or the U.S. Army All-American game. They do it on a different platform, on a different stage now. Like I remember when I was working in Columbus before I came here, I was at the Isaiah Crowell reveal when he pulled out a little baby bulldog from under the table to say he was going to Georgia. I remember
that. Which, by the way, was classic.
Classic.
That was maybe the first, real classic one.
That was a really good one. Oh, yeah.
Now, since then, we've got all sorts of bananas kind of stuff. But
and that picture showed up everywhere, and I know why, because my mic flag was right there next to ESPN's, and I had it a little higher than ESPN's. So,
nicely done.
So,
small victories.
WRBL News 3 in the limelight back when I was in Columbus. But, yeah, it's so different, and we're still trying to figure out, how to cover it. Because you have all these big names going to the big schools back in December, and we're still in football mode then, so we can't give them the full time and coverage that they deserve. And now, you have everybody else, all the other schools, all the smaller divisions, colleges for football, all doing the signings on the traditional signing day.
Yeah.
So
we're trying to figure it out. We really are. And I think we could get to a point that from a football perspective, this is a moot day. It's just this day. And again, we're going to talk about it next. We're going to talk about the ratings and rankings and where they are. But I think Georgia really has few spots to fill, if any, going into tomorrow. So it's like not an important day at all for the Georgia Bulldogs.
23 already.
Yeah, and you get two more.
Yeah.
So you got 2 more. That's it. We'll talk about the rankings. Where are the Gators? Where are the Noles? Where's Miami? How much catching up does Miami have to do with Diaz now in place? We'll take a look at it next with Stuart Weber here on Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690.
Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
Want to put more presidents back in your pocket? Then get to the President's Day sale going on now at Arlington Toyota. Arlington Toyota has over 1,000 vehicles on the lot every day, and every single one of them is discounted with big-time President's Day savings. During the President's Day sale at Arlington, you choose Jacksonville. Get a 2019 Camry LE or a 2019 Corolla LE for 0 down or $159 a month. That's a pre-owned 2019 Camry or Corolla for 0 down or $159 a month. Amazing savings at 0 down or $159 a month. Arlington is all about putting you behind the wheel, and that includes their new free iPreCheck service powered by TransUnion, the easy way to check your credit without affecting your credit score. No Social Security number required. It's the President's Day sale at Arlington Toyota, but it won't last long, so hurry. Shop today in person at 10939 Atlantic Boulevard or online anytime at arlingtontoyota.com. Track the Toyota is back at Arlington. Follow Arlington Toyota on Facebook or Twitter for contest details, and you could win a $100 gift card plus $500 off your next Arlington purchase.
The Medical Group Management Association of Northeast Florida is proud to join forces with the Duval County Medical Society to host its first annual symposium on April 18th. Aimed at helping physicians and practice managers to smoothly operate their practice day to day, topics include healthcare trends impacting your practice, stress management and communication, and empathy in the workplace. To register, go to nfmgma.com. That's nfmgma.com. All attendees must be employed by a medical group or practice.
Hey everybody, this is Brent Martineau. Come meet Shaquem Griffin and hear his inspirational story during a community event presented by Brooks Rehabilitation. Saturday, February 9th on the Flex Field at Daly's Place. Shaquem Griffin of the Seattle Seahawks will be in Jacksonville. The former UCF football star made history last year when he became the first one-handed player to be drafted to the NFL. Doors open at 10 a.m. on February 9th. This community event features exhibits and demonstrations, followed by a conversation with Shaquem Griffin. Register now at brookscelebrate.org.
From the NBA to the NFL, we've got you covered. The worldwide leader in sports. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
Now, back to Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Talking a little recruiting on a Tuesday, National Signing Day just around the corner. We've been covering signing day for a long time. I remember I drove my kids to school probably about 8 years ago, right before we were about to make the run on National Signing Day, where we all basically stop at 8 to 10 to 12 different schools during the day.
We have a map.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, look at Weber's map. Now,
let's see that thing.
We didn't used to have a map. It used to just be a list. But I made my kids sign that day. They were going to like second grade or something on a paper plate that I had, and I made them actually sign their name on a thing that said I will get a college scholarship.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. That's cool.
So
academic counts too, by the way.
Yeah, so we'll see if they can do it.
Humble brag,
Brent,
not a big deal.
Yeah, no, that's
thanks, Florida.
Shout it out. Brent Martineau along with Austin Lane, Stuart Weber, Justin Kuzart here 5:15 on a Tuesday. Hope you had a good work day, everybody. Beautiful night. So enjoy the rest of it. Drive safe on your way home. We'll talk to LaDainian Tomlinson about Leonard Fournette in just a little bit, but I want to get the rankings out for National Signing Day. Again, tomorrow will be a big day, National Signing Day. We'll cover it. We'll see where some of these guys go and gals go, but at least let's get a preview of where the teams with local interests sit, especially with all the happenings in Tallahassee as of late. And I want to start with them because to me they're the most intriguing team, at least in our area, and I think maybe across the country there's a lot of eyes on Tallahassee and Willie Taggart and what's he going to be able to pull off, because remember, we don't know if Willie can coach, and last year at times it didn't look like he could coach very well, but he comes in as a big-time recruiter, and we know he can recruit. Is he going to get the job done, Weber?
That's a good question. And, you know, the numbers have dropped a little bit. Coming in ranked right now, and we're using the ESPN rankings.
Yeah, keep in mind there's like 50 things
different
that rank
rankings.
them.
We're using ESPN's rankings because we're ESPN 690.
Very good call there.
Seems to make sense,
call.
right?
Keep it in the family.
So Florida State comes in at 17 as of right now, and that's before any undecided guys make decisions tomorrow. But really, that's not going to change that much. And most of these rankings really aren't going to bump up or down all that much because, like we said, the majority of the big guys are already signed and delivered.
How many do they have signed? Do you know? Does it say?
Let's see. Right now they have, well, they've got 19 committed. It doesn't say whether it's signed or, not signed, but 19 committed. 13 of those are 4 stars, 6 of them are 3 stars.
Well, that's an embarrassing performance for Florida State if they're 17th.
Yeah.
That's not Florida State recruiting.
It's really not.
I'd be, if I'm a Florida State fan and they end up 17th and it doesn't fluctuate a lot. Ooh, doggy.
And
there's some quarterbacks in that group too.
And that's the big find tomorrow. Can they get one? Can they land one?
We were talking about this in the break, but the ESPN 300, of course, is the top 300 as determined by ESPN Recruits. The ACC is seriously falling behind the SEC when it comes to signing guys in what's considered that top tier ESPN 300. Now, you're welcome to debate whether or not that's truly the best 300 guys or not. But based on those numbers that they're putting out there, Clemson has 12 of them. FSU has 10 of them. The next best in the ACC only has 3 commits from the ESPN 300.
Wow, and that means Miami's in there.
Miami and Virginia Tech each have 3.
Wow, and again, Miami's an interesting spot because Richt got out at a late time, and then Diaz comes in, so they'll be interesting to watch. Where are they in the rankings, Miami?
Miami is 32nd.
Wow. So now I think they'll climb a bunch tomorrow. We'll see. You said there's not a lot of movement. I'm interested to see if there is movement. And the 10 gets for Florida State inside the top 300. That's a pretty decent amount of players. That's a good top-heavy class.
And that 17th ranking might be deceiving based on only having 17 guys or 19 guys as it is right now.
And numbers value. By the way, these rankings are so like Stuart's starting to describe. These rankings are so arbitrary because a lot of if a school has 23 committed compared to 17, well, you're getting docked for that. So numbers do matter, not only just quality of player.
And you have to keep in mind, too, with Miami, they might not be ranked the highest, but they also have a lot of transfers coming in as well. That they're coming in from the portal, as they say. So something to keep in mind with Miami as well.
Yeah, good point.
Miami's top signee, by the way, Jeremiah Payton, wide receiver out of Fletcher.
Yeah, I'm interested to see him, too, because I just don't feel like he was a guy that garnered a ton of at least media attention. I mean, we covered him, but there have been players from the area that have had, I guess, bigger star power, and he was in the weeds a little bit. He was hurt a little bit this past year, too, I think.
Yeah, a little bit this past year, and before that, he didn't have a quarterback. In fact, he was the quarterback at one point his junior season for Fletcher. He was, just running Wildcat because he was so athletic, and they didn't have a guy to throw him the ball. So it'll be very curious to see how he does with a guy who can actually get it to him out in space.
Good call.
He's an athletic specimen. It's a matter of how he's going to fit into that system.
I was going to say, he's always been high on their radar. I mean, he's always been a talent.
He's been locked
That's
in with
for sure.
Miami
I'm just saying
too,
he didn't get a ton of attention. And Miami has recruited Jacksonville really well. If you go to the Oakleaf guys, the linebackers. All right, where is Florida?
Florida
and
comes
Georgia?
in at number 12.
Very good.
Gators in there at number 12.
I wouldn't say very good, but when you close it out, they could get into the top 10. I think that is good.
Yeah, they have 23 guys committed. So, good, robust class. And we were talking about it. No 5 stars according to ESPN, but they do have 13 4 stars. That's...
yeah, I mean...
That's not, 18, excuse me, 18 4 stars. That's even better, right?
Well,
you said 18
4 stars. I mean, as far as the stars are concerned, it's whatever. So I'm staying out of it.
Well, the 4 and 5 star stuff, especially the 5-star stuff, is for... It's for the fans. It's for everybody. It's made this thing into what it is. It's a machine now.
Yeah, it's for the websites. I get that.
But I do think when you say that, you're like, wow, Florida has... If you say that to just walking down the street, you say, yeah, Florida has no 5 stars in their class. Like, man, Mullen's not doing a good job recruiting. And then you say, well, they have 18 4 stars.
Yeah.
Well, okay. That's pretty good.
And 12 guys inside that ESPN 300. We were talking about Florida State has 10. Florida has 12. Georgia has...
So he's out recruiting Florida State, Willie Taggart. They're 12th in according to the ESPN rankings.
According to the ESPN rankings, yes.
Which, that shows the momentum.
Right. Now, I've always been a guy who doesn't get as caught up on the rankings like Austin's saying. I want to see what these guys look like when they're juniors, and once they've been able to get developed. Because so much of it comes from that coaching staff once they get a hold of them on campus.
And even the whole top 10, like the top 10 in the nation, I mean, you can't necessarily get caught up in that either just because you don't know how these kids are going to respond to the next level. I mean, some guys fall off right away. Some guys get in trouble. Some guys just aren't mentally equipped to play college football. I mean, honestly, I think the last guy that really stood out to me as being a certified lock, like this guy's going to the NFL one day, was Clowney. I remember watching Clowney in high school thinking, like, there's no way this guy's not going to dominate in college and then go to the NFL because he was that much of a freak of nature. And I'm sure there's been guys after him, but, like, even when you're talking, like, the top quarterbacks that come out every year, like, they're not necessarily going to be, like, the top quarterbacks in college football the next season.
Absolutely.
That's just how it works,
So Georgia comes in at number 2. Behind, I think you all know who's number 1.
Obviously.
That would be Alabama. Alabama has 22 players inside the ESPN 300 signed.
How crazy is that?
Of their 28.
And how many did you say Clemson has? 12?
Clemson had 12, yes.
So, I mean, the haves and have-nots in terms of where people stand recruiting and where their programs are at. Alabama obviously ahead of most everybody, but Clemson has now proven with 2 national titles in 4 years, they're ahead of everybody, even for the separation between Alabama and the rest of the SEC is significant. The separation, I think, in the East between Georgia and everybody else. And while Florida closes the gap, Gator fans, there is a separation because he continues to get it done and continues to get more players and continues to have quarterbacks these last couple of years. And meanwhile, in the ACC, the separation between Clemson and everybody else is starting to feel a little bit more like Alabama did a couple of years ago. True. That separation is massive right now in the ACC. If Florida State's number 2 in terms of recruiting and where their program is at, the rest of the ACC has some major catching up to do, and it's just dominating right now by Clemson.
And the thing with Alabama, too, you have to remember, I mean, coming from a recruit, you got to look at the NFL pedigree. You know, I mean, if you go to Alabama and you're a good player and you start with 2 years, you're going to the NFL. It's just the way it is. And Clemson's starting to get there. I don't think Clemson's even to that level yet.
Doesn't mean you're a star in the NFL, by the way, because there's been a lot of Alabama guys that have not worked out.
And that's absolutely correct. But, I mean, stating the fact that, listen, if you play a couple years at Alabama and you start, you're going to the NFL. And I think eventually Clemson might get to that point, too, as well. But right now, it's all Alabama.
We'll throw in a shout-out as well for the UCF folks. Of course, they want to hear about their team.
Absolutely.
49th in the ESPN rankings. Nobody in the entire AAC has an ESPN 300 recruit, so none of the schools do. They do have 4, including UCF. They have 3 4-star defensive linemen, all on the same position. So some talented guys playing D-line. So quarterbacks of the AAC, watch out.
And they have a ton of 3 stars.
But the thing
that's
with
where
UCF,
they fill.
Yeah, the thing with UCF is that they have 19 3-stars.
Yeah. But that's where they live. I mean, exactly you're outside the Power 5. That's where you live, and then you have to develop, and you get in numbers, and hopefully some of those develop into 4 or 5-star kind of talents, and some of these other guys don't develop theirs. That's how they've been able to make hay the last couple of years, and they have a system that works.
Those Griffin guys seem to be doing okay.
What's that?
Those Griffin brothers seem to be doing okay.
Oh, by the way, we will have Shaquem Griffin on tomorrow night here on the show, 5 o'clock on ESPN 690. So Shaquem coming to town in Jacksonville. I'll be hosting an event with him on Saturday morning. BrooksCelebrate.org if you want to get involved in that. But Shaquem Griffin will join us, so we'll talk to him. What a young man he is out of UCF, and I can't wait until that conversation tomorrow. Okay, one last thought on National Signing Day. We'll see how it shakes out tomorrow. But we mentioned it. The separation for, I'm going to leave Alabama out of it because Alabama does win. It wins in a variety of ways, although they have Tua, and now they're getting Tua's brother. So it feeds into this conversation.
Well, and then they have Bear Bryant's nephew coming in, too.
Absolutely. So. And by the way, that's why Carson Beck decommitted.
Yeah.
Because look at the politics there.
Yeah.
I mean, look at if I'm a kid, I'm not going to where Bear Bryant's nephew is and where Tua's brother is. And Tua's that doesn't make any sense. So that's why he decommitted, and it was a smart move on his part. But look at Clemson. Quarterbacks. Look at Georgia. Quarterbacks. That's right now the problem with everybody else. What's Florida State doing? Are you comfortable with Felipe Franks in Gainesville leading you to the promised land? The answer to that is no. Did they get a lot out of Felipe Franks? Yes. But you need a game changer at the QB position. Miami, same deal. They might have made some national noise 2 years ago if they had a quarterback that could really lead them to the promised land. So tomorrow's going to be an interesting day. We'll be all over it for Action Sports Jacks, both on the social platforms and on CBS 47 and Fox 30. Good job, Weber.
Do what I can.
Nice job on the map.
Yeah, I'll finish this map before I go bowling tonight.
Very good. Bola 165.
I got it. I'll tweet out the.
What's your average?
Like a 160 average. So that's
why I want you to be a little above average.
Yeah, I'll throw like a 165 and I'll tweet out the picture.
Okay. And we'll talk to LaDainian Tomlinson coming up next on ESPN 690.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and Steelers wide receiver Antonio Brown can't seem to get out of his own way. Today we're reading reports of a domestic disturbance at Brown's Hollywood home back in January where the cops had to be called out. ESPN's Teddy Bruschi says the circus around Brown is just a terrible fit for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I don't think there's any chance Antonio Brown's going to be playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers next year. I mean, this is an organization that's only had 3 head coaches. I mean, they pride themselves on stability, making it through the tough times, and then coming out the other side.
Folks in New England have come out to show gratitude for their champion Patriots at today's parade. If you had Gronk wearing a police vest while drinking wine and chugging beer in your What's Gronk Gonna Do at the Parade pool, congrats, you win. And finally, Mandarin Mustang star quarterback Carson Beck has decommitted from Alabama for the 2020 season. No word on where he's now looking to attend. You can stream us live from any phone or computer right now. Just go to ESPN690.com and hit the Listen Live button.
Hey everybody, this is Brent Martineau. If you've received a letter from the IRS and can't pay them, things can get bad quickly. The IRS can seize your bank account, garnish your wages, and place liens against everything you own. If this is you, contact J. David Tax Law, a local firm right here in Jacksonville. Your first step to stop IRS harassment is a no-cost consultation. They explain exactly your options and how they will resolve your tax issue. Only highly experienced tax attorneys will represent you, and fee payment plans are affordable for everyone. Get the protection you deserve. Peace of mind is only a click or phone call away. The fastest way to get started is to call 904-507-4777. 904-507-4777. Or online at jdavidtaxlaw.com. The number again, 904-507-4777. Or online at jdavidtaxlaw.com.
Hi, everyone. This is Allie McNeil from the Best Bet Poker Rooms in Jacksonville and Orange Park. WPT Deep Stacks returns to Jacksonville March 1st. The series features 12 total events with the main event guaranteeing over $300,000. Satellite into the $1,500 main event for as little as $85. Pick up all the bragging rights and cash. Plus, make your claim to fame in this year's WPT Deep Stack Series. Satellites run now through March 9th. For all tournament information, visit them on the web at bestbetjacks.com.
From Daytona Beach to Brunswick, now ESPN can be heard loud and clear everywhere on one of the most powerful AM radio stations in Florida. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
You watch Action Sports Jacks on CBS 47 and Fox 30.
Now Action Sports Jacks is on your radio.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios.
Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
Having some fun on a Tuesday here in Jacksonville, Florida. Thanks for listening on ESPN 690 AM, on ESPN690.com, TuneIn app, iHeartRadio app, watching on Facebook on the ESPN 690 Facebook page, on Periscope at Brent A.S. Jacks, YouTube channel Action Sports Jacks, Twitch. And then, if you missed any of it, you can catch it on the podcast as well. Did I cover it all?
I think so, yeah.
I might have missed one in there. I feel like I missed something.
It sounded all good. You said Spotify, right?
Well, I just said podcast. You can get this podcast on iTunes and Spotify.
Yeah.
Stream us, ESPN690.com.
I did that one.
Yep. Or if you have a radio in your car, just set it to 690 a.m.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Oh, that too. That's right. From Melbourne to South Carolina. Actually, you know, I was testing it out on our drive back from Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget where I was, but I was west of Savannah, and I could get us.
Nice.
So that's not a lie.
Cool. No, it's legit. Zero false advertising. No fake news over here.
Absolutely. So welcome back, Brent Martineau, Austin Lane. Man, having some fun on this show, getting ready for National Signing Day tomorrow. I want to bring it back to the NFL. We're supposed to get a lot in here over the next couple minutes. 2 segments. Ballin' and Fallin', stay in your lane, maybe even a hot take or two. If we see, we've had a lot of hot takes already. But I do want to play this interview from Super Bowl week with LaDainian Tomlinson. We caught up with him, asked him about Leonard Fournette, but we also asked him about the quarterback situation in Jacksonville and what's the best way to go about it, whether it's Nick Foles, Joe Flacco, or leaning toward a young guy.
With the team that they currently have, they just came off a run last year. And so it's hard to bring a young quarterback in and expect a young quarterback to gel with the veteran guys and lead them on the run. That typically doesn't happen. So why not bring in, a guy like Flacco or Nick Foles, a veteran guy that has played a lot of football, that will gel with those veteran guys, and possibly be able to get them on another run, through the playoffs.
What, from 3,000 miles away, through your TV most of the time, what did you see went wrong in Jacksonville coming off that big year last year?
Yeah, I just think, for one, the expectations, maybe the pressure of the expectations seemed to get to the guys, and they just didn't come with the same passion early in the season. And I just think there was some things going on in the locker room, that tore that team apart. I really believe that at the end of the day, that's really caused the demise of the Jaguars more than talent, because they had the talent. it was just issues, in my opinion, in the locker room that guys just didn't respond.
Speaking of, Leonard Fournette comes off a big year, has a disappointing year. As a guy who's been through it, can you bounce back from that? And how much of it is learning just how to be a pro, and as a young guy?
Yeah, I think you hope he can bounce back from it, but I think that's a big part of it, is learning how to be a pro, learning what's expected of you, but also learning how you should lead. As one of the best players on that team, whether he wants to or not, he's a leader. He's looked at by a lot of those guys in the locker room as someone that can get it done on the field, and so they expect him to lead them. And just some of his actions off the field, the stuff with the fight, jumping into a fight, like, I don't think he realized the expectations and the position that he's in. Let's hope he learn from it, because the guy got a ton of talent.
There's LaDainian Tomlinson. And, people debate about Leonard Fournette's talent, I think, sometimes. He just said he has a ton of talent. This is coming from a running back, a guy that knows that position really well. And I thought it was really interesting, aside from Fournette, although it includes Fournette, how many people we talked to, at least from the national perspective, that had the view that there was something amiss in the locker room in Jacksonville. Yeah. And now, listen, someone or two or three can say that, and then you read headlines when you're outside of the area and you're just trying to follow the team and seeing what's going on from a broad brush perspective, and maybe that's where you gather that. But keep in mind, these guys also have contacts and people that talk and whatever it is, whether it's players in the locker room or friends of those players or agents. Or I think the overwhelming amount of people saying there was stuff wrong inside that locker room speaks to that we talked about most of the season too. That was the view from the national folks. But more focused on Leonard Fournette. It is such a big offseason for Leonard Fournette. It will be a huge 2019 for Fournette. We now pretty much feel like it's a foregone conclusion he will be here. Unless something crazy happens on draft weekend where they try to trade him away, or when the league year starts and they trade him away. I'm all but banking on Leonard Fournette being in Jacksonville. It is going to be a huge, huge year, and it starts in the offseason for him.
It really does, and I'll be the first one to tell you, I'm all in on Leonard Fournette. A lot of people aren't buying the hype and everything, but I don't know what it is, but I think he's going to be a special player. I really do. He's shown glimpses like we've talked about. Obviously, his overall career average isn't anything special per se, but I think if the offensive line can get themselves in order and they can get healthy, I mean, left tackle is still kind of a question mark. Cam Robinson coming back from an ACL tear, not an easy injury to come back from, especially at left tackle. So we don't really know the state of the offensive line right now. That's going to be a big part of it too. But if we can get a quarterback who can throw the ball, who can set up that run, who can set up the pass, I think Leonard Fournette's going to be okay.
Keep in mind, the best player they have on offense is still Leonard Fournette right now.
Without a doubt.
Whether you like him or not, whether you think he's a Pro Bowler or not, whether you think he should have been drafted top 5 or not, whether you're mad at him for a miserable 2018 or not, he's the best player they have on offense. Mm-hmm. Unless I'm missing somebody.
You're not.
So, now, okay, you're going to argue D.D. Westbrook, show me more. But maybe in 2 years, D.D. Westbrook will be. But I'm still saying nobody changes the game like Leonard Fournette from an offensive perspective for the Jaguars, which says a lot about their offense.
Yeah, exactly.
But also shows you the value of him having a big offseason, being in the right mindset, maturing a bit, and having a big year. And they will want to run the ball, whether it's Foles, Flacco, Haskins, a young guy. They need to be able to run the ball, use play action, just like all these teams do. Everybody does it, so you have to start with a running game. And there's a really good chance he's the only guy back in that room from 2018. So they are going to revamp the position.
Well, and granted, they end up signing Rawls, which is, I think, is a good pickup for them because he kind of does a lot. He doesn't do exactly what Leonard Fournette does, not as well, I think, anymore. But Rawls is that tough physical back that can run power, that can give you, 10 to 15 reps a game. So as far as that signing is concerned, I think it's great because if for some reason, knock on wood, Leonard Fournette gets hurt again, Rawls is a great guy to step in and take his place as opposed to last year when Fournette got hurt, and also we relying on TJ Yeldon to run the power game, which obviously that wasn't his style. So They do have some pieces at running back now. I like it a lot better than they did last year, but we'll see where else they go with it.
And I don't know Rawls, so I don't know what kind of presence he is. I don't know if he will be a good locker room guy, good in-the-room guy, but they obviously attack that from the coaching standpoint with someone who can relate, hopefully, to Leonard Fournette. So as a running backs coach.
And I'm just speaking from Rawls from when I watched him in Seattle. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know what he's been doing the past couple of years.
He's been kind of absent, right?
Yeah, so who knows exactly, but I'm just going by what I saw in film from in Seattle, and he was a tough, hard-nosed runner.
Yeah, so there it is on Leonard Fournette. Our conversation with LaDainian Tomlinson had that as a little bit of a holdover from Super Bowl week, and I thought LaDainian was pretty good, talking about the quarterback situation, also the Jags from a 3,000-mile-away view, and Leonard Fournette. And keep in mind, he said he's got a lot of talent. So LaDainian Tomlinson came across to me that he likes Leonard Fournette. Just has to figure some of this stuff out. Time for a little ballin' and fallin'. We hope Leonard Fournette is ballin' in 2019. We'll have to wait and see.
Ballin', as if we weren't talking about him enough already on the show. Got to go Tom Brady, Julian Edelman, going full Jedi at the Disney World experience. Did you see the pictures?
I did not.
So obviously, Julian Edelman went to Disney World. Tom Brady joined him, I think, in Orlando. I'm not positive on that. That's where I assume it's at. But anyways.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, exactly. So on Monday, Tom and Julian got to live every man's fantasy, going to Disney World without your wife and kids because they went by themselves. It was a bro day. I'm super jealous of that. That's crazy. They were seen wearing robes and having lightsaber duels. Granted, that looks like fun. I'd probably have to sell my car in order to afford that merchandise because it looked pretty pricey. But at the end of the day, there's like a 20-second video of them saber fighting, and it's pretty satisfying, a lot better than The Last Jedi was at the last Star Wars movie. So props to them enjoying their time at Disney World by themselves.
Very good.
Bro day.
I'm going to give my ball into Carson Beck. This guy has gone just off the charts. This local quarterback his stock has gone so high in the last few months. It's pretty cool to see. Happens with quarterbacks at all levels, but this guy has developed. And a lot of people say, hey, 7-on-7s, and this is where you improve your draft stock and all those kind of things. Well, this is a kid, because of what he did in high school, going to Mandarin, having the run with Mandarin, his success in the postseason, winning a state championship and really helping to lead that team, his stock has gone through the roof to the point where now he said, hey, this is, and I say he's balling because he makes the right decision not going to Alabama because of what we just talked about earlier with what they have coming in. And now he can really go help a program, whether it is Florida, if he fits in there, whether it is Miami, who's been dying for a quarterback, or whether it's someone like a Georgia Tech, who's bringing in new coaches. And so this guy is balling. I think he will ball in college, too. It's going to be an interesting career. Could be the next really, really, really good quarterback to come out of Jacksonville, and Carson Beck. He's got a lot of the measurables.
Shout out to Mandarin. Not just known for oranges anymore.
The Mustangs. Living it good. And we will have a phone call when we come back. And we'll also do falling. Because if you ball, sometimes you got to fall.
Yep.
Next on ESPN 690.
This is Golic and Wingo.
NFL insider Adam Schefter is with us. The Jacksonville Jaguars. Tom Coughlin comes out with this statement. Where do you think this is headed?
They're going to be exploring other avenues, with them being one of the most, if not the most disappointing team in football, starting at the quarterback position. They'll start there, and they'll branch out, and I would expect that they'll obviously discuss the idea of moving on from Leonard Fournette, as they will with other disappointing players there this offseason.
Golic and Wingo, weekday mornings at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
Want to put more presidents back in your pocket? Then get to the President's Day sale going on now at Arlington Toyota. Arlington Toyota has over 1,000 vehicles on the lot every day, and every single one of them is discounted with big-time President's Day savings. And talk about saving some presidents. During the President's Day sale at Arlington, you can buy a 2019 Corolla LE from just $14,888. That's a pre-owned 2019 Corolla LE from just $14,888. And when you want a crossover SUV with some serious style, you got to get a Highlander. And right now, during the President's Day sale at Arlington Toyota, you can buy a 2019 Toyota Highlander from just $28,988. That's a pre-owned 2019 Highlander from just $28,988. Arlington is all about putting you behind the wheel, and that includes their new free iPreCheck service, powered by TransUnion. The easy way to check your credit without affecting your credit score. No Social Security number required. It's the President's Day sale at Arlington Toyota, but it won't last long, so hurry. Shop today in person at 10939 Atlantic Boulevard or online anytime at arlingtontoyota.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brent Martineau of Action Sports Jacks, and if you're considering buying a new car, I want you to go talk to my good friends at the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. They have raised the bar for customer service, and you'll be happy you went to Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. Their no-risk, no-pressure approach really sets them apart. Imagine buying a new Hyundai Santa Fe, but then thinking to yourself, maybe we don't need that much room in the family. Well, you could buy that new slick Hyundai Accent instead. And with Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville's no-risk, no-pressure approach, you could bring that Santa Fe back to the dealership in the first 7 days for your money back. No pressure whatsoever. Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville also offers a lifetime warranty that is good anywhere in the United States. The Hyundai you want, the service you deserve, all with Jenkins' exclusive lifetime warranty. Do what my family did. Get a Hyundai and get it from Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. Go check out the showroom and visit them online at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com.
Sports Center updates at the top and bottom of every hour. And the latest breaking news in sports around the clock. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
This is Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
One more segment to go here on a Tuesday. We wish we had more time. We've got more to talk about. We got the fallen part of ballin', and we also have a little stay in your lane. And we've had so many hot takes, we probably won't get to hot takes. We'll save it for tomorrow. Again, a reminder, Shaquem Griffin will join us tomorrow on the program on ESPN 690 during the 5 o'clock hour. So make sure you check us out on Wednesday. Right now, go to the phone lines and welcome in Shaquem. Hey, Shaquem, how you doing, man?
What's up, guys? How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Doing great.
Hey, man, Austin, man, I'm a big fan of yours. I still had your jersey. I just can't find it right now anywhere. So I'm just kind of, happy that you got the opportunity to be on the radio, man. Get to hear from you. I have a concern about the Jags cap room and Blake Bortles. If Blake Bortles goes somewhere else, is that minus off his cap room? Like if it's like $16 million, does it go? If he gets like $4 million from somebody else, does that go minus off that $16 million? And also, who do you think exactly the Jaguars will release next 1 month so we can create more cap room so we can get other guys in here? Thanks, guys, and I'm happy to hear from you guys.
All right, appreciate it, Shaquem. Thanks for checking us out. Okay, here's the deal. Bortles has dead cap of $16.5 million. They have to give him, I think it's $6.5 million guaranteed money anyway. So regardless, cash-wise, $6.5 million bucks, the way I understand it. The dead cap space, which counts against your cap, $16.5 million. What can happen? I was told during the season, when asked about this, by a source, that there is that offset language in his contract. So if he goes to the LA Chargers, they give him a 2-year, $8 million deal. Well, that $4 million in 2019 will come off that bottom line of the 16. You really have to follow the math here. So then it would be a $12 million dead cap hit, essentially. They'll still have to pay the $6.5 million cash to Blake regardless, is the way I understand it. But the other part of this is they can designate him as an after June 1st cut. And if you do that, then it's $11 million this year, $5 million next year on your cap. Well, then you start doing that math again with wherever he signs, that offset language comes in. So now it might only hit you at $7 million as a dead cap. Again, this is assuming he signed like a $4 million deal somewhere, which, by the way, is probably way too much. He's not going to sign a $4 million deal, probably like a $2.5 million deal, something like that. So, Shaquem, to answer your question, yes, my understanding, my sources say there is offset language in that deal on Blake Bortles.
And to answer another part of that, well, Two parts of his questions. If you can't find my jersey, just go on eBay. They're like $10. You can find another one. It's not a big deal at all, man. And I'll even sign it for you. Send it in. I'll sign it for you, no problem.
$10, that's it.
No, I don't know. I'm just kidding.
I mean, but if they are, I'm going to go look that up and find out. If it's $10, I'm having my jersey made, and I want to see if I can get more than. I want to see if I can get 11.
They were selling a used one at the game for $50, which I was kind of mad. Because I'm like, just tell me you still got some of my jerseys, and I'll buy them from you. Like,
get a little inventory.
Obviously, my family wants them
on the show.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. But anyways, get back to his question too. He also mentioned who are the Jaguars maybe going to cut to free up some salary cap space. I mean, I think the obvious answer there would be Malik Jackson, even though it pains me to say it because he's a great player. But listen, you have Taven Bryan coming in. They drafted him for a reason. Not the same type of player, but eventually he's a first-round pick. He's got to fill up that hole. So I think Malik might get let go then to free up some cap room, depending on what the plan is with the quarterbacks coming in.
And that's $15 million with Malik Jackson. They're obviously keeping Calais, but they could rework that deal, which is $14.5 million. They could save some money somewhere along the way. Telvin Smith's an interesting one, $12.5 million, and it's got $8 million in dead cap money. My guess is anybody who thinks Telvin Smith is going anywhere this year, I don't think that's the case. I think he will play this year in Jacksonville. If they could trade him, maybe they try to do that. I don't think that's going to be the case. Marcel Darius is an interesting one, $10 million. So Malik Jackson for sure, $15 million. Marcel Darius, do they have enough confidence in Avery Jones to cut Marcel Darius?
Marcel was playing good ball towards
really
the end of the
good ball.
season. But I mean, like, it's a game of money, you know.
But remember, they already lost Barry Church, which was $6 million. And so I think you have a definitive one in Malik Jackson, and then you have an interesting case in Marcel Darius and also Tayshaun Gibson. And that's about another $20 million in that money. Austin Seferian-Jenkins has already told everybody he's cut.
So we think.
And so that's going to be about $6 million. Jeremy Parnell is interesting. He's a $6 million cap casualty. Carlos Hyde will be gone. That's $4.5 million. So, am I missing anybody? I think that's about it.
They're going to hang on to Moncrief, correct?
No, Moncrief was a one-year thing.
Oh, okay, never mind. I'm sorry. They're not going to sign him again.
Moncrief's gone.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry.
So that was just a one-year deal anyway.
All right.
But to me, the big question marks are three. Parnell, $6 million. Marcel Darius, $10 million. And Tayshaun Gibson, $9 million. Will they? And there's one other facet of this now. The cap went up about $10 million for 2019. So that basically helps take care of some of Blake's contract, if you want to look at it like that. Some of the dead money. The Jags will have more dead money this year than they've had probably in the last 5 years combined. They will have to eat some of that dead money, which is never a thing an organization wants to do. But if you go back and look at all the NFL teams and where they rank, I think they are first in the least amount of dead money they've had over the last 5 years under Dave Caldwell in this regime now. If you add it all up, like teams eat money all the time. The Jags are really going to have to eat some money, it looks like, here in 2019. So the money stuff is a funny thing. We're going off spot track right now. I always say this about the cap. In the early 2000s, where Tom Coughlin and the Jags got in a lot of cap trouble, that is a very hard thing to do now in the NFL. There are so many different ways to move things around, move money around, put this pile and this pile, and create space that even when it looks like you're up against it, to a degree you are, but you can kind of get yourself out of it. What I think is the interesting part of a cap standpoint is how much are they going to spend on the QB position? That's the one that gets me. Are you willing to spend $30 million on the QB spot with the dead money and the guaranteed money to Blake, combined with a possible Foles or Flacco, and combined with a young guy that you might draft? How much are they willing to spend on that QB position? That's the question I would love answered, because I think that's a fascinating one. All right, time to get to balling. We already did falling. Falling for me. I'll do it quick because we're going to run out of time. Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown, if you want to go places, now this is a domestic type of thing. It just came out. But Antonio Brown's fallen. Because I'm not sure how many teams are going to really say, hey, we're going to give up this and this and this and pay for this, even though you just put on this public display of not really being the best teammate of all time, and now you might be getting yourself in trouble. I think Antonio Brown continues to hurt his stock, and I think he's a fantastic player. I would love the Jags to get him from a player perspective, because they need a guy like that. But he's making it hard for teams to do that.
He also had a blonde mustache at the Super Bowl.
Oh, boy.
I saw him, which was aggressive. Anyways, following, I'll make it quick too because I still have stay in my lane to do. But following NBA dads, Anthony Davis's dad coming out saying Boston isn't the place for his son because they were not loyal to Isaiah Thomas. Anthony Davis's dad, what do you know? LeVar Ball's coming out again saying how he wants his son to go play for the Suns now. He wants him out of LA. Once again, it's not about you. It's about your son. Why would you want to go to Phoenix Suns? They're not even in contention for an NBA championship outside of Devin Booker. What are they bringing to the table? Not much. Hey, NBA dads, let's just let our sons enjoy the moment, enjoy the process, and let's see what happens.
And let them grow up and make their own decisions.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Stay out of it, Dad.
Yeah, exactly. Stay in your lane, Tom?
Yeah.
Stay in your lane, Dad. Stay in your lane. Cruise control. Read this in Sports Illustrated this morning. Not really a sports-related article, but it was on Sports Illustrated, so I'm going to read about it. According to Sports Illustrated, an unnamed Colorado man who was running trails was attacked and injured by a mountain lion.
Oh, boy.
This is not the real news, though. The real story out of this whole thing is the fact that the man was attacked and then proceeded to choke the mountain lion and ended up killing him.
With his bare hands.
With his bare hands. Can you... So now, I don't know what... And I hope the guy's okay. I assume he is. I don't think he's deceased. But, dude, if I'm this runner right now, I got talked by a mountain lion, here's what's going to happen. I'm probably going to get, like, you know, carted off to the ER or whatever, maybe unconscious. As soon as I wake up and the nurse is coming to, you know, give me an IV, try to put me to sleep for surgery, I'm going to go, nah, nurse, I'm all good. I don't want any kind of surgeries. Let the body heal on its own. And here's why. I want to keep my scars. I want like my face falling off kind of a little bit, and I want to be a little deformed. Why? Because the next time that I go to the bar and someone comes up to me, hopefully it's a female, and she asks me, I have to ask, like, what's wrong with your face? What's wrong with your arm? Why is your finger off? Well, it's a crazy story, actually. I got attacked by a mountain lion. Oh, my God, that's horrible. That's not the end of it. I actually killed him with my bare hands. Boom, and there we go. That guy is definitely balling. He's cruise controlling. The guy's a stud. Don't know his name. If I did, sir, I would give you all the props. Last but not least, we got to pump our brakes. Pumping the brakes to taking your shirt off. I don't know where this trend came off. Adam Levine started it, and now the New England Patriot players today for the Super Bowl parade, we're all taking their shirts off. Hey, it's about 55 degrees in Boston. Let's pump the brakes just a little bit.
That's spring.
The last time I took off my shirt, I was getting ready to fight somebody, because that's when you take off your shirt, is when you fight somebody. I was at Gasparilla back in 2013. Some guy was popping off. I took my shirt off. We didn't end up fighting, but it was kind of awkward because I put my shirt back on after that. It was awkward for both parties. Hey, if the shirt's coming off, it means you're going to fight. Don't do it to like show off your muscles or whatever. Unless you want to, because Brent's going to take off his shirt eventually here, too. So
I am. Once I get
what it
in
is.
good shape.
Sorry I'm talking so fast. It's trying to speed everything up.
You're doing a good job.
Yeah, it's hard.
Hey, listen. People are driving fast right now, or really slow. They're probably pumping their brakes. Traffic time.
I'm exhausted. That's all I got for today, Brent.
You go get a workout in.
Take us home. Yep.
Take me home tonight. Try saying that without singing it.
Here's a fun fact. Who sings that song?
I hate these questions.
Actually, I don't know either. I was thinking of the song I Don't Want to Lose Your Love Tonight, which is the Outfield. I'm not sure who sings Take Me Home Tonight.
I'm going to find out right now. I wouldn't have got the Outfield either.
Yeah, the Outfield sings I Don't Want to Lose Your Love.
Everybody's
Eddie Money.
Eddie Money.
Eddie Money.
Dang.
All right.
There we go. Dang music. Trying to keep music out of the show.
Nah, man.
Stay in your lane, Austin.
Brent, we spent 3 segments on Jalen Ramsey. The least we can do is talk some music or some wrestling.
That's true.
Jalen, unblock my boy already. We spent the whole day talking about you, man. Let's go.
And that's going to do it for a Tuesday. Shaquem Griffin joins us on Wednesday on ESPN 690. I'll see you on TV, CBS 47 and Fox 30.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron